Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the Iron Fanfics, back with amazing fanfiction. This is the series of What If Deku Had Super Copying Quirk. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Ochako Uraraka is walking down the sidewalk. She is a teenage girl with short brown hair and eyes. She is small and a little bit pudgy. She also has tiny pads on her fingers, which she uses to activate her quirk. Ochako Uraraka. Quirk, Zero Gravity. She can remove the gravity from an object by touching them with all 5 of her fingers. She can return the gravity by touching her hands together. As she walks, she sees a young boy with a crab quirk. He has crab claws for hands, running into the street to chase after his soccer ball. However, the boy does not notice that a speeding car is headed right for him. The car honks and catches the boy's attention as the driver steps on his brakes, but the boy is frozen in fear and the car is not skidding to a halt fast enough. Ochako's heart races. Her first instinct is to rush forward to help the boy. Step 1. Touch the boy. Step 2. Float him above the car. Step 3. Hold it until the car passes over. However, there is a brief moment of hesitation as she remembers the last time she used her quirk in public. Izuku Midoriya is walking down the street. He had just left school and now she is on his way to his part-time job in Kamino. I wonder how Senpai will like my notes? Izuku thinks. I introduced myself to 3 pro heroes this week and I was able to copy their quirks and get a couple strands of their hair. Izuku remembers being in the crowd greeting MT Lady and getting an autograph from her while discreetly reaching over to pluck a couple of hairs. He also remembers doing the same thing with Death Arms and Kumari Woods. Izuku Midoriya. Quirk, super copy, initially quirkless. He can copy any quirk from another person if he comes into contact with something containing their DNA, even if it's just a strand of hair. He can use up to 5 different quirks at once and retain them for an hour after a single touch. Keeping the DNA on him at all times can allow him to retain the quirk indefinitely. His favorite quirks to copy, which he keeps on him as patches, are hyperintelligence, scan, super regeneration, and telekinesis. I even did some research on the students attending UA and made a list of hairs from students I want, like Shinso, Todoroki, Yaoyorozu, and Kodai. I already got hair from the principal and I've been taking engineering courses at my school, along with studying quirks with the doctor. With everything I'm learning plus the scan and intelligence quirks, I might be able to reverse dash. Izuku's thoughts are interrupted by a loud honk. He turns and, to his shock, he sees a speeding cart about to hit a young boy with crab claws. Izuku's lets move on their own and he rushes in to help him. Izuku immediately runs across the street, grabs the boy from under his arms, and scoops him up to take him to safety. The speeding car drives right past them, missing Izuku's body by a mere inch before Izuku reaches the other side of the street. Once it is gone, Izuku sets the boy down and looks over him to make sure he is okay. Izuku sighs in relief. That was so close. Are you okay? Why, I'm fine, the boy says. Thank you, mister. Izuku smiles. You're welcome. Just be careful next time you go out into the road, okay? The boy nods before grabbing his ball and running off. Before Ochako can act, a teenage boy with green hair wearing a dark t-shirt grabs the boy from under his arms and pulls him to safety, right as the car drives past them. The green-haired boy lets out a sigh of relief. Ochako's eyes widen as she observes the green-haired boy who is looking over the child he saved. He is slightly taller than her with a muscular build and big pretty green eyes that match his curly hair. He's cute, Ochako thinks. And he acted without hesitating. Unlike you. That was so cool and heroic. Ochako approaches the green-haired boy as he is about to walk away. Excuse me? Ochako calls out. Izuku turns around and he eyes the pretty girl with pink circles on her cheeks. Izuku looks around to make sure that she isn't talking to anyone else before turning back to her. Me? Izuku asks. Yes, you. The girl says. Wow, this is the second girl to ever talk to me after Toga. I just want to say, I think what you just did right now was really cool, the girl says. Oh, it was nothing, Izuku says. It wasn't nothing, says the girl. You saved that kid. And you didn't even use a quirk. Izuku internally lets out a huff at the mention of quirks. Of course she goes right into quirks. After all, quirks are what make most people unique and special, right? If you have a particularly flashy quirk, you're basically a guaranteed hero and already a celebrity. But if you were unlucky enough to not have one at all, then there's just nothing special about you. You're a loser, below even someone with a useless quirk. Though I suppose it's better than having a quirk that is particularly scary sounding, or one that makes you a mutant, otherwise you get labeled as a villain and stigmatized. Well, better scare the cute girl off. Well, you don't really have a choice in the matter when you were born quirkless. The girl blinks. It's technically not a lie. I was born quirkless. I'm just withholding the fact that the doctor surgically implanted a copy quirk in me. Izuku recalls laying on a surgical bed with stitched scars on his torso. I was born without a quirk, Izuku clarifies. Okay, now the girl will either laugh at you, run off in embarrassment, or look at you with pity. Oh, I'm so sorry, the girl says, frantically waving her hands. I didn't mean to offend you. It was wrong of me to just assume you had a quirk. I'm sorry. Izuku blinks in surprise. Okay. That isn't exactly pity. Hey, do you want to hang out? The girl asks. I know a good baba place. It's on me. You deserve a reward for what you just did and I want to properly apologize to you. Izuku's eyes widen. Now she's willingly wanting to hang out with me? Even when she thinks I'm still quirkless. Only the League has only ever wanted to willingly hang out with me and I met them after getting my quirk, which they knew about. What is going on? I actually have to get going, Izuku says. I have a job to get to. Oh, okay, the girl says. Well, do you want to exchange numbers? Yes. Izuku immediately pulls out his phone and opens his contacts. My name is Izuku Midoriya, and my number is XXXXXX. The girl smiles. Well, nice to meet you, Izuku. My name is Ochako Uraraka. My number is XXXXXX. Izuku smiles, blushing at the thought of him having a second girl's phone number. Ochako. Great. Yeah, I will totally call you. Peace out. Goodbye. Izuku walks away as fast as he can, blushing and cringing as he recalls his words. Peace out? What were you thinking, Midoriya? Stupid. Now she thinks you're a dork. Ochako is crimson as she realizes what she had just done. Did I just ask a boy out on a date? Oh man, what do I do? Ochako takes a deep breath. Okay, don't get ahead of yourself. This is just you offering to have Baba another human being. There's nothing datey about it. Just something to say, hey, you're so cool. Yep, that's all it is. Ochako's phone rings. She pulls it out and she sees a familiar number. She answers the phone and holds it to her ear. Hello? Curious. Ochako. How is my intern? The boss has a mission for you tonight. Curious, the woman on the other end, says through the phone. But tonight is a school night and I have a test tomorrow. Reed Estro will write a letter to your principal, Curious says. The whole school is supposed to give soldiers for the army anyway. I'm going to Daika Academy to learn to be a hero, Ochako reminds her. So did Sliden go, Curious says. Anyway, we're moving a big shipment of trigger drag into the city. We could use your zero gravity, especially since we helped you awaken. Also, the boss is talking about taking care of those League of Villain BS Sardes, so we want all available members of the army prepared. Ochako sighs. Okay, I understand. I'll be at HQ in an hour. An hour later, Ochako is approaching the tower that serves at the MLA's main headquarters. She is dressed in a dark pink, black, and white costume with a headpiece that has a dark pink visor which shields her face. As she walks, she texts her parents. Hey Mom and Dad. My boss says she needs me for a project, so I will be out late tonight. Good news is that they are paying me overtime. Okay, thanks for telling us, sweetie, her mom texts. Don't work too late, her father texts. Also, I want you to know that we are proud of you. After failing to get into one school, you managed to not only get into another but got an internship that pays us well and with someone who is willing to hire our services. We know how hard you are working for us, and I just hope you know how much we appreciate it. Ochako smiles and wipes away a tear as she walks. Izuku walks into the bar, which serves as the Leiju of Villain's hideout. He finds Shigaraki, Kurogiri, Spinner, Toga, Magna, Compress, Twice, Mustard, and Dabi waiting for him. Izuku sets his notebook down on the counter. Toga blushes like crazy seeing him again. Here, Izuku tells Shigaraki. I made a few more entries in hero hairs. I also determined hero patrol routes. Shigaraki flips through his notebook, seeing entries for MT Lady, Death Arms, and others. Ah, very good, Deku, Shigaraki says. By the way, Izuku says, I was wondering if you could tell your spy to get me a couple hairs from UA students I looked up. You will find the list inside and an explanation of what their quirks are. Shigaraki finds the note and schemes it over. Ah, I can see how a brainwash quirk will be useful. I really want to get some hair from Mandalay and use it in conjunction with it. Izuku says excitedly, we can use the brainwash quirk directly in the mind. Bypass the need to have the other person talk. Oh, Deku is so smart, Toga fawns. Creepy, Mustard says. But effective. But why do you want a miniaturization quirk? Shigaraki asks. It doesn't work on organic matter. Plus you already have me, Mr. Compress says. And MT Lady's gigantification quirk does the opposite, Izuku says. I've been taking some courses in engineering. I think between what I am learning, the intelligence quirk, and scan I can recreate the energies to grow and shrink items technologically while improving them. Dabi smiles. So I can shrink Endeavor to the size of a bug and step on him? Oh, I like the sound of that. Izuku cringes. By the way, young Midoriya, Kurogiri hands Izuku an envelope. This came for you in the mail today? Izuku takes it and his eyes widen looking at the letter. It's from my dad? Didn't you write to him last week about getting you some hero souvenirs from America? Spinner asks. Yeah. I asked if he could get me some samples from heroes if he could that I looked up. But I didn't think he would actually do it. Or that he would bother responding. Izuku opens up the letter and schemes through it. Hey son, Izuku reads. I was able to get a couple of fingerprints from some heroes. A few I was able to meet in person, others I bought online. It wasn't cheap, so I hope this makes up for the last 10 birthdays I've missed. Your mom told me you were a fan of heroes, but I didn't think it was like this. But, hey, we all have out hobbies. Lifted. Izuku shrugs. Huh, that was actually nice of him. Dabi and Shigaraki grumble. Izuku looks at the first two hero fingerprint samples and his eyes widen. The names writ below the prints read, Captain Celebrity Christopher Skyline, and Kathleen Batestar and Stripe. Izuku gasps and his jaw drops at the samples he now has. Izu-chan, are you okay? Magna asks. Izuku brushes his finger over the star and stripe print and he feels the power of the new quirk surge through him. Izuku grabs his books from his locker. The bell had rung for the day, so now he can leave. He looks at his phone and sees the time, and then he pulls up his messages from yesterday. Izuku, hey Ochako. Are we still on for boba? Ochako, of course. I'll send you the link. I'm sorry you have to take a train, but the place is closer to where I work and I have a shift to get to afterward. Boss keeps me busy. Izuku, it's all right, I have a job too so I know how that is. I'll see you tomorrow at 4, Ochako, thanks. See you there. Smiley face. As Izuku puts his phone away and closes his locker door, he spots two of his old bullies. The one with the long fingers and the one with the shark teeth. They spot Izuku. Izuku narrows his eyes at them and they stare at him for a few moments before turning around and walking away. Izuku makes his way to the door, not noticing the girl with the long prehensile blue hair staring at him. So, when are you gonna talk to him? Her heavy-set friend with the bull horns teases. What? Blue hair asks. Why would I talk to him? You know why. Bullgirl says. I see the way you stare at Deku. I've told you before I don't have a crush on him, Blue hair says. Is he cute, sure? But I'm not going to date a quirkless boy. Izuku rolls his eyes and continues his way. Not all men are created equal. That was a lesson that I learned early on. Izuku leaves his school walls and walks down the street. At this point, some of you may be wondering why I'm a villain. Well, I didn't wake up one morning and decide, hey, I want to be a villain instead of a hero. It's just something that happened. It's what I chose to do, and I am going to stick by it. If you're still confused, then let's take a trip back to when this all started. Flashback. Katsuki Bakugo slams an explosive hand on Izuku's desk. The effect breaks it and sends the boy flying out of his seat. Katsuki shouts, "You think they would have you when they could have me?" as Izuku backs up against the wall in fear and his classmates laugh. All while their teacher does nothing but look at the papers on his desk. It was almost a year ago. I was in my last year of middle school at Aldra Junior High. Unlike the rest of my classmates and most of the world, I was quirkless, meaning I had no superhuman abilities. In this society, quirks are seen as the things that make people unique and special. Even useless quirks are appreciated over having none at all. So I was considered useless, a loser, bottom of the totem pole. Despite this, my whole life wanted to be a hero like All Might. Izuku sits on the train, looking through his notebook, which has water stains and burn marks from when Katsuki used his explosions on it and threw it out the window. He flips to the back of the book and stares blankly at the signature from All Might. I always looked up to him. Saw him as this amazing god who saves everyone with a reassuring smile. He inspired me to always stand up for what is right and to always help others. More than anything, I wanted to be like him. A childish hope I clung on to even after I was diagnosed quirkless. No matter how many times I was knocked down, beaten, hurt, and mocked, I always tried to be strong and smile, because that's what All Might does. And then I met him. Flashback. Izuku is staring shocked at All Might's shrunken skinny form after revealing his injury. "So much fear hides behind this smile," he said. "I don't think you can be a hero without a quirk," he said. Don't get me wrong, I may not have liked hearing that. But I understood. I don't hold anything against him for saying that to me. A part of me always knew anyway. I've since done research and I've concluded that those with weak non-combat quirks are mainly stuck as sidekicks or F-listers. Flashback. Izuku is watching Katsuki struggle against the Sludge Villain. Izuku has a look of regret on his face, knowing it is his fault. He is just about to rush in to try and do something. But before he can even move, All Might swoops in, smashes the Sludge Villain, and saves Katsuki instead. Izuku can only watch in self-disappointment as the rest of the crowd cheers. Katsuki has a look of anger on his face as the heroes who were already here praise him for his quirk and bravery. A person without a quirk at all like me, even if I trained or used support gear, would only be able to hope to do that. If an agency would even hire me, that is. To be the All Might level hero I want to be, I would need technology that costs millions of dollars, so yeah, it was just an unattainable dream. After that, I decided to pick something more realistic. I decided that if I couldn't be a hero directly, I could still help out by going into support gear design, or analytics. Or I could maybe be a teacher and inspire children that way. Flashback. Izuku looks around, hurt, as he is still mocked by his classmates. A teacher? Seriously, dude? How do you think you're gonna get your kids to respect you when we don't? They said. You still think a hero school will let a quirkless kid in? I'm sure their engineering students have metal control and stuff, they said. What hero is gonna listen to a loser like you seriously? They said. And after my encounter with All Might, I just lost my will to keep smiling. What's even worse is that Bakugo was known from that day on as the Sludge Villain Kid, the guy who almost died from a villain attack and had to be saved by All Might. He didn't like that, and as usual, I became his sandbag. Flashback. Izuku is bruised and crying. He tries in vain to shield himself as Katsuki furiously punches him in the face with explosion-enhanced fists while his two friends watch and laugh. You weak bastard. You've been laughing at me too, haven't you? You think you're better than me? Ha! Huh, he shouted. Kaken please. I muttered. Bakugo then punches Izuku in the stomach and lets him fall to his knees on the ground. And I thought I told you I'm going to be the only one from this school to get into you? It's bad enough everyone already thinks I'm weak. I won't let you take that away from me. If you go anywhere near you, I swear I'll murder you. And that wasn't the only time he did that. Whenever Bakugo was reminded of the Sludge Villain incident, or even if he didn't, and I just annoyed him in whatever way ticks him off, he would assault me and leave me bruised and burnt. It was nearly every day. And since all the other students would just laugh when he did that, I decided to talk to the teachers and principal. I know teachers aren't great about dealing with bullies, and that you should just deal with it anyway, but I just couldn't take it anymore. I was hoping they would at least talk to Bakugo, especially given how brutal he is with me. But instead, they just brushed me off. Flashback. Sorry, Midoriya, but I don't know what you expect me to do. Quirkless kids get bullied all the time. I can't change how the world works, the long-haired teacher with the extend arm said. I'm going to be honest. I'm just biding my time until I retire from this job. While I did talk to the principal about the broken desk, he decided to pay for it himself and told me not to punish Bakugo in any way, said the homeroom teacher. Bakugo's quirk gives him so much potential to be a great hero. If we punish or hold him back in any way, then UA might reject him. We're just thinking of the boy's future here. Sure, he has a bit of an attitude problem, but I'm sure UA will straighten him out. Besides, he's only ever hard on you, and let's be honest, you're quirkless. You probably won't amount to much anyway, the principal said. And Bakugo's mom is friends with my own mom. If I told her that Bakugo was bullying me, it would just strain their friendship, so I kept quiet. Months went by. Nearing the end of the school year. Every day. Single. Blood. Burns. Tears. And pain. Until one day I came home and I overheard my mom talking on the phone with Aunt Mitsuki. Flashback. I don't know what to do, Mitsuki, Inko said, full of tears, as she talked on the phone with her friend unaware of her son who just walked through the front door and was standing in the doorway. Izuku has always had a hard time fitting in with other children, but now it's gotten worse. He's coming home with bruises every day. Again, Izuku neglected to tell his mother that it was mainly Katsuki who was bullying him. My baby is going through so much. It had been a rotten day at school. Another added to an already massive pile. Every day, my willpower and my strength just corroded little by little. And that day, Bakugo's long-fingered friend took the extra step by telling me that my mom had gotten fat all these years because she was ashamed of having a quintless kid for a son. Flashback. Inko wipes away her tears. I just wish Izuku had been born with a quirk. That is what finally broke me. The cord of my strength and sanity had been chipped away until there was nothing but a tiny thread hanging onto a tiny fleeting spark of hope. But hearing my mom say that, no, now she only meant that in that I wouldn't be getting bullied for being quirkless. But at the time, combined with what I had been told earlier that day. Flashback. Inko turns around as she hears sobbing sounds. Her yes widen at the source of it. Her son, Izuku, standing in the open doorway trembling with tears flowing down his face as he stares right at her. Inko immediately jumped up and tried to explain herself frantically. Izuku, sweetie, I didn't mean it. I didn't listen. My self-hatred had reached its maximum limit. At that moment, I wanted to just crawl into a hole and die. I wasn't thinking. My legs just moved on their own. Flashback. Izuku! Inko shouted as her son tearfully ran out the door. Izuku ran, and ran, and ran until he reached the street across from his apartment. He was in the middle of the street, right when a car was driving down it. Izuku barely registered the loud honk and the growing lights before it hit him. Pain filled Izuku's body as the several-ton hunk of metal hit him on the side. When his body and head hit the cold road on his other, the last thing he saw before fading to black was a man getting out of his car and his mother screaming his. I woke up in the hospital. I had casts on my hip, leg, and arm, as well as bandages wrapped around my head. According to the nurse, I had been unconscious for 24 hours. My mom came in as soon as she heard I was awake and came in, crying and apologizing profusely. But I didn't say a word. This all just reminded me of the time she apologized to me, because I was quirkless. And actually, that experience made my entire life flash before my eyes. particularly a certain spiky-haired blonde boy. Flashback. Izuku watches in amazement as Katsuki Bakugo fights off two older kids. Izuku thinks he is amazing. Flashback. Izuku and Katsuki, along with the latter's three other friends, watch an All Might fight on TV and Katsuki comments on how awesome All Might is since he always wins. Izuku admires Katsuki's drive to win. Flashback. Izuku fails to dribble a ball and Katsuki mocks him. Flashback. Katsuki reveals his ability to read to his friends, while at the same time giving Izuku the insulting name Deku, making Izuku sad. Flashback. Katsuki manages to skip a stone in the river several times and mockingly asks Deku how many he skipped. None. Flashback. Katsuki's quirk manifests and he is praised by all the teachers and students, including Izuku, who say he will become a great hero. Flashback. Izuku struggles to catch up to Katsuki, who runs ahead of him without a care in the world. Flashback. Katsuki leads Izuku and his friends into a restricted area, despite Izuku being hesitant since it is off-limits. Flashback. Izuku is mocked by the other students in class over not having a quirk. A few call him Deku, learned from Katsuki, likely. Rather than scold the children for mocking him and assure Izuku that is all right, the teacher weakly, hinting she doesn't really believe it, tells him, "Don't worry about it, Midoriya." Flashback. Katsuki falls into a river. Izuku offers a hand out of concern. Katsuki gets mad and smacks it away. Flashback. At the playground, Katsuki furiously knocks Izuku down before running off with his other friends. Confused and hurt, Izuku runs after him with wet eyes. Flashback. Katsuki gets mad at Izuku for following him around and uses his explosion quirk to hit Izuku. Izuku yelps as he is pushed down harder. Izuku looks up at Katsuki with a bit of fear in his eyes, while Katsuki develops a malicious grin on his face. Flashback. Izuku runs in fear as Katsuki chases him around with his explosions. Eventually, Katsuki caught up to him and beat him up. Flashback. Katsuki and his friends were picking on a kid who had a villain quirk. Izuku tried to convince him that his quirk didn't make him a villain, but Katsuki and the others wanted to beat him up anyway. Izuku, though scared, tries standing up to Katsuki and the others. But Long Fingers just grabs the back of his head and Katsuki punches him in the face. When the bullies are done, Izuku is left lying beaten on the ground beside the sobbing villain boy. The sad thing is that I really thought that Bakugo and I were friends. I thought he was so cool and amazing, and that it was only when his quirk came in and I didn't that he changed. I realize the truth now. He didn't change, he just became worse than he already was. Bakugo never cared about me. He never respected me. He never did anything but pick on and tease me, and then one day he decided he hated me and has done nothing but bully and hurt me every day since then. And the worst part is that I never had one real friend my entire life. Yet, at the same time, I still wasn't sure whether it was really because Bakugo was a JRK, or because I'm just naturally a failure. The train comes to a stop. Izuku looks up and sees that he is where he needs to be. He smiles, grabs his belongings, and gets off the train. However, I will give Bakugo some credit. He did basically stop bullying me after I got out of the hospital. I don't know whether or not it was out of pity, a sense of guilt, or because I told the class that I wasn't going to enroll in UA or any other hero school anymore. I decided the last thing I want is to be around Bakugo or other arrogant JRKs like him anymore, but he just left me alone after that and even told his friends to leave me alone too. Though, he did say, finally, he understands that he's a quirkless failure who will never amount to anything, with a smug grin before the teacher told everyone to get back to the lesson. I didn't respond to that, and we didn't talk or interact all the way until graduation. The last time I saw Bakugo was when he was being personally congratulated by the principal for getting into UA in front of the entire school, who cheered, and he shot me a smug, cocky grin. After the ceremony, he walked right up to me, held the acceptance letter, with a video message from All Might complimenting him on getting the highest score in the entrance exam, to my face, and said, "See that? Ha, Deku? I'm going to UA and I'll be the greatest hero ever, and you'll never be anything. It's over. I won. You lost. You have anything to say?" Huh. I paused for a brief moment before responding with, "Goodbye, Bakugo, and walked away. There was a brief silence as I walked away, probably from Bakugo trying to process that I've stopped calling him Kakin. But then I heard Bakugo scoff and shout, "Finally! He stopped calling me by that stupid baby name. It's a miracle!" As I stomped away crying. I ended up enrolling in a normal high school. Izuku's phone dings. He looks at it and sees he has 2 texts. One from his mom, the other is from a group chat with Suichi, Magna, Himiko, and Twice. Izuku clicks on the text from his mom first. "Inko, sweetie, are you with that new friend yet?" Izuku smiles and texts, "I'm meeting them now, Mom." Inko, "Okay, well text me when you are on your way home. Alright? I don't want you out too late." Izuku, "Don't worry, Mom. I'll be back by curfew. They said they have a shift soon so it won't be too long." Inko, "Okay, sweetie. Love you." Izuku, "I love you too. Bye." Then Izuku goes into his group chat from the league. Magna, "Hey, Izuku. You on your date yet? Remember what we talked about being a gentleman?" Izuku, "I told you, Magna, it's not a date. We're just getting boba." Spinner, "Dude, it's totally a date. Twice. Go for it, man, she'll be lucky to have you. She's gonna reject your butt." Himoko, "Send me a picture of you and her together. I wanna see how cute she is. If I like her, maybe ask if she is bi or pan and we can all be together and I can watch you both bleed. Love, love." Izuku chuckles and rolls his eyes. Izuku, "Himiko, remember our deal. You stop trying to stab people and I willingly let you bite my arm once every couple of days." Himiko, I know. I roll emoji. "But you're still so cute, I wanna chop you. Come on. You have that regeneration quirk patch from the new anyway." Izuku chuckles again. Izuku, "Talk to your guys later." Oh, right, I haven't gotten to why I'm friends with villains yet. Or why I am with the league. Well, it's 2 reasons really. To explain the first reason, I'm going to talk about my first day in high school. Flashback. Izuku enters the hallways of his new school. Most of his former classmates are there, giggling and talking to the other students about how the quirkless Deku expectedly didn't get into a hero school. Izuku's expression is now angry rather than sad. He opens his locket, only for it to slam shut, because of long fingers accompanied by shark mouth, Katsuki's old friends. "Yo, Midoriya. Glad to see an old friend since Bakugo's gone," Shark Jaw says. Long fingers pokes at Izuku's chest. "Don't think we've forgotten about you. Quirkless loser. Bakugo may have given you a break before, but now you're left with us. So we're going to make up for a month of dash." By this point I was just sick and tired of it all. So, I looked up common quirk weaknesses and protective countermeasures. I even looked up some self-defense videos online. It wasn't much. It definitely wouldn't hold against someone like Bakugo. But most people's quirks are weaker than that. Flashback. Izuku grabs the long finger and twists it, causing the owner to scream in pain as Izuku starts to bend it backward. Shark Jaws tries to intervene, but Izuku slips on a pair of brass knuckles and punches the sharp-toothed bully in the jaw. Izuku walks away with an angry expression on his face as the bullies grab their jaws' fingers and the other students stare at him in shock. The blue-haired girl has a blush on her cheeks. They assigned me extra homework and punishment and called my mom, who took my side after I explained the bullying but still grounded me for 2 days, but it was all worth it. Though they never did that to Bakugo. Anyway, those 2 JRKs never bothered me again. No one's laughed at me since. Granted, I've gone from being the school loser to the school thug, but it's better than before. And that day I learned a valuable lesson. Most people are just stupid sheep, some people are cruel, and sometimes the only way to get respect from either is to use a fist. Well, most of the league members have been hurt or neglected by society, and they are now one big fist. Call us villains if you want, but we're going to make a better society for us outcasts. Just you watch. My second reason, and how I even met them in the first place, was friendship. Izuku's eyes light up as he sees a cute brown-haired girl sitting on a bench. Ochako. Ochako is grabbing her books out of her locker and Daika Academy. She checks her phone and sees her messages from yesterday, then she sees the time and smiles. Good, I have enough time. What's this? Asks a taller girl with brown eyes and black hair as she peeks over Ochako's shoulder, causing the shorter girl to blush, squeak, and accidentally activate her quirk on her phone, causing it to float up so high that it hits the ceiling. Asta? Don't sneak up on me like that. Ochako shouts. Asta raises her hands. Sorry. I was just curious is all. So, who's Izuku? Ochako touches her fingers together and catches her phone in her hands once it falls. Just a boy I met the other day, Ochako says. He doesn't go to school here. I met him when Curious sent me on an errand in another city. Ochako blushes. I just thought he was really cool. So I want to get to know him better. Asta smiles. That's great. So you've got a boyfriend? Ochako gasps. What? She waves her arms around frantically. Why are you saying things like that? We're just meeting up for boba. It's nothing. Besides, he may already have a girlfriend. He wouldn't agree to meet with you if he had one, says a very small girl, 4 feet 9 inches. She is petite and has her blonde hair in a ponytail. Unless he's a two-timer, Asta says, crossing her arms. So, tell me all about this boy, the petite blonde squeals. Where did you meet? What's his quirk? Oh, that he's actually quirkless. The two girls stare blankly at Ochako. I wonder what their response will be, Ochako asks herself. We're all here at this school training to be heroes in service to the Meta Liberation Army. So I don't know how they will react to Dash. Oh good, Asta says. So you don't have anything to worry about then. She pulls out a pen for her backpack. Otherwise, if you were going to meet a strange guy someplace, I would have given you some extra protection. The pen in Asta's hands immediately transforms into a rifle, with the same design as the pen. Name, Asta Euro. Quirk, weapon creation. She can transform anything she touches into a weapon. Was originally limited to melee weapons such as swords, gauntlets, and spears. But with advanced training and weapon design courses at Daika Academy, she was able to learn to create more complex weapons such as crossbows and eventually rifles, machine guns, and bombs. No thank you, Asta, I am good, Ochako says, lowering the hand which is holding the sword. Izuku is a very nice boy. He saved a kid from getting run over by a car when I first saw him. Let me know if he has any cute friends, the petite blonde says as her face turns red with an intense blush. Maybe we can go on a double date? As the petite blonde speaks, her boy grows. She rapidly increases in height, quickly reaching Ochako's, then Asta's, and then towering over them. As she grows, her once skinny frame becomes more muscular. Her biceps swell up like balloons as her torso becomes broader and her legs explode with muscle. Her school uniform barely stretched to keep up with her. If he does, then ask them if they are into strong girls. Not so small anymore, Blonde asks as she continues to grow. AI, calm down, Asta says annoyed as Ochako laughs fondly at her growing friend. You're going to make a hole in the ceiling again. AI Kashiwagi. Quirk, heart pump. The faster her heart races, the bigger and stronger she gets the longer she keeps it up. Especially when she is thinking about cute boys. Her physical exercises at Daika Academy focus on endurance. Her height when casually exercising is around 9 feet tall, but vigorous exercise causes her to grow to gigantic proportions. Though she is still human. So, if her heart is overworked, she can suffer from cardiac arrest. AI takes a deep breath and she shrinks slightly. Sorry. I'll ask AI, Ochako says before walking away. See you guys later. Bye Ura, says Asta, waving. Bye Uraraka. AI says waving. As soon as Ochako has left the hallway, Asta chuckles. A quirkless boy? What is she thinking? What's that supposed to mean? AI asks. Come on AI. This guy doesn't have a quirk. Not even a lame one. Ura can do so much better. Besides, isn't she thinking about her future children? Quirk genes are dominant, so there is a high chance of their kids inheriting her quirk, says AI. And a chance of them not, Asta reminds her. Even if their kids get lucky, there's no telling for the grandkids, great-grandkids. AI crosses her arms. Well, I think that Ochako is free to date whoever she wants. And if the boy is sweet and good to her, then they are both lucky. AI looks at her massive arm, its bulging veins. All I want is a boy who doesn't think I look disgusting. Fine, whatever, Asta says. Come on, let's hit the mall. Ochako leaves her school building as she makes her way toward the train station. What is the saying? No good deed goes unpunished. That is a saying that I know all too well. Ochako sits at the bench for her train to arrive, and she checks her phone again. This time, she has a message from Curious. Curious, just a reminder. Training tonight. Ochako types, I know. I'll be there. I'm studying at Daika Academy to get my hero license. However, the catch is that I also have to be a soldier in the Meta Liberation Army. The MLA started during the emergence of quirks, back when metahumans were having a tough time being accepted into quirkless society. The MLA was founded by a man named Destro, whose mother was the very first person to coin the term quirk. He led the MLA in various protests, violent protests, against society. They were believed to have ended long ago with Destro's imprisonment. But it turns out that Destro had a son and the family has continued building the army, based in this city. Of course, now that most people have quirks, the goals of the MLA has changed slightly. Now, they want to create a society without quirk restriction laws in public, so they are building up for a big revolution against the government. The train arrives and opens its doors. Ochako walks inside and takes her seat. She looks fondly at the screensaver on her phone of her with Curious and Slide NGO. You may be wondering why I am a part of them. Well, it all started 4 months ago, back in February. I had originally planned to enroll in UA High, the best hero school in the country. Flashback. Ochako is caught under some debris with a busted leg. She tries to free herself, but she is trapped. She screams as the massive zero-pointer robot gets closer and closer to her. Thankfully, before it could crush her, the rodent-like Principal Nizu presses a button that stops the robot from crushing her. Ochako sighs in relief before letting her head collapse. Sometime later, Ochako anxiously watches her video acceptance letter from All Might. The number 1 hero shakes his head. I am sorry, Ms. Uraraka, All Might said. While you scored a decent amount of villain points, you were ultimately disqualified after being caught by the zero-pointer. The projection shifts to Eraserhead. I strongly argued against accepting you, Eraserhead bluntly says. What are you going to do? Save a few people and then get yourself killed? Plus, you didn't do so great on the written portion. Apply next semester when you increase your surveillance skills. Ochako breaks down in tears as her parents comfort her. It's okay, honey, her mom says. You'll be a hero someday, I just know it. So the original plan was for me to study hard, practice with my quirk in private, and then try again next semester. Flashback. Ochako is half asleep as she reads a big book. There is a stack of reading books on her left and another stack of unread books on her right. I studied as hard as I could to retake the test. Flashback. Ochako is surrounded by forest trees, struggling to lift multiple boulders with her quirk. She exercises herself until she pukes. I went into the mountains and I trained until I spilled my guts out. Seriously. I lost 10 pounds. But then one day I asked my dad if I could practice my quirk by helping him out at work. The train comes to a stop and Ochako gets out at her exit. As she walks, she sees an advertisement for a cider drink featuring the hero Airjet, which she frowns at before walking away. Flashback. Ochako is using her quirk to move a giant concrete pipe. She gives her father a thumbs up, who gives one back to her as he works. I had always offered to use my quirk to help my parents when I was little, but of course, using your quirk in public isn't legal. Still, we thought it would be fine as long as we were careful. Until one day we weren't. Flashback. Ochako uses her quirk to move a metal beam. As she casually swings it, a villain on a motorcycle, money flying out of the bag on his back, drives right by. And the hero Airjet is accidentally hit by Ochako's metal beam. Ochako and her father gasp as they see Airjet, a hero, lying on the ground in pain, while everyone else just stares at them in shock. That girl's a villain, a man from the crowd of random civilians shouts. She just attacked a hero and helped a villain escape. The crowd becomes aggressive and boos Ochako, as the girl looks around crestfallen. No. It was an accident. Ochako shouts as Airjet sits up. Villain. People from the crowd continue to shout. You should be ashamed of yourself. Attacking a hero in broad daylight, they shout. That villain could have gotten away with our money, they shout. Ochako covers her ears to try and muffle the insults as tears stream down her cheeks. Her father gets in front of her. What is wrong with you people? Ochako's father shouts. She's just a kid. At that moment, Airjet grabs her father by the wrist and subdues him. You are aware that quirk usage in public is illegal, right? Yes. So is interfering with hero work and aiding a criminal. I tried to explain to the police that it was just an accident. The heroes managed to catch the villain, but I was still in a lot of trouble. The chief of police said that I was not allowed to break the law just because it benefits me and charged me with illegal quirk usage. At the same time, my father was charged for encouraging me, and we were still charged for unintentionally aiding a villain and interfering with hero work. My family had to move out of our apartment and into our car. Flashback, Ochako and her parents grab their belongings and move out of their apartment. Ochako has her head down the entire time. Then they are shown sleeping in the seats of their car. Ochako's laying face down into a pillow, crying. We all had to get second and third jobs. Flashback, Ochako's father is shown working as a waiter and Ochako sweeps the floor. On top of that, I was still a pariah in our town. Flashback, Ochako's parents look shocked at their car, which had been vandalized. Its windows smashed, dents in the metal, and the word, trash, spray painted on the side. At school, Ochako is being pelted with food by her classmates during lunch. She cries and tries to cover herself. I knew I was just going to cause more problems for my family if I stuck around, so I ran off. Flashback, Ochako runs out of her school, crying. Flashback, Ochako is shown wandering the streets alone. Everyone who sees her avoids her. Hey, look at that kid all on her own, one bystander said to his friend. Do you think we should do something? He asked. Nah, I'm sure a policeman or a hero will come for her, his friend replied. Yeah, you're probably right. After a few days wandering the streets, I was eventually found by a hero. Flashback, Ochako, now much skinner, is rummaging through the trash looking for food. A shadow looms over her and she looks up to see Slide and Do, looking at her sympathetically. Ochako arrives at the boba place she agreed to meet Izuku. She finds a bench and decides to sit there. I told Slide and Joe everything that had happened to me. He offered my condolences and offered to introduce me to someone who could fix things for my family. Flashback, Ochako sits in front of Slide and Gio at a diner. She has a big plate with a hamburger, fries, and a milkshake in front of her. She is crying as she talks to the sliding hero. Slide L ponders for a moment, and then he puts a hand on her shoulder. Later, Slide NGO stands with Ochako in front of Daika Tower. And later Ochako stands before Redestro, Curious, Trumpet, and Skeptic. So, I made a deal with Redestro. I would go to his hero school and train to be a hero undercover agent for the MLA. I would take an internship under Curious and use my quirk to help them. And they would offer a few contracting contracts to my parents. Flashback, Ochako enters Daika Academy. She talks to Asta and AI in class as they read Meta Liberation War. She also joins Curious on a mission, using her quirk to easily move large crates. And, after that, Ochako comes home to her parents, who are happy and living in a nicer apartment than they did before. Say what you want about them, but they have been good to my family. I know they have a reputation for being terrorists. I kind of thought they were culty at first, but they really aren't so bad once you get to know them. And what's so wrong with wanting to use your quirks freely anyway? Also, when they first started, quirks were new and they were being hunted down and discriminated against, so do you blame them for fighting back? That's how I feel. I want to create a world where children can be free to help their parents in any way they can, quirk or no quirk. Though I know that a lot of students at my school hate quirkless people because those were the kind that subjugated our ancestors in the past, so I really hope I can protect Izuku when... Ochako! Ochako turns her head and smiles upon seeing the cute green-haired boy waving as he walks toward her. Hey, Midoriya! Later, Izuku and Ochako are sitting across from each other, drinking boba. So you still managed to become a hero student? Izuku asks.
Tako smiles.
And I owe it all to Slide and the Emlet, but I can't tell him that. Oh well, good for you, Ochako, Izuku says. So, she just wants to be another egotistical celebrity then. How disappointing. I'm glad things worked out for you and your family, Izuku says. I remembered hearing about you on the news after you talked about Erja. You got a lot more hate than was warranted for your mistake. Thank you, Ochako says. But I've made some friends now that have helped me a lot. Oh, I know that, Izuku says with a smile. I never really had any friends growing up due to being quirkless, but a few months ago I found an online forum for people who had difficult times fitting into society. Flashback. Izuku, in the hospital, is searching online on his laptop. He finds a forum titled Outsiders, and under his pen name, Deku1, communicates with other users Spinner3 and Nighthide2. The message from Spinner3 reads, I would love to be quirkless man. All my quirk does is let me crawl on walls and it makes me look like a giant gecko. At least you can go outside without people calling you a monster. A separate comment from Nighthide2 says, I just got a job offer from the Detnerat company. The president himself said that he has a use for my quirk. I don't know, it seems pretty sketchy, my quirk is villainous after all. And the reply from Deku1 reads, Hey, don't worry about hero quirks or villain quirks. I grew up being bullied with a guy who has a hero quirk, so if you found people who see potential in you, go for it man. I met my best friend Spinner through it. Flashback. Izuku meets with Spinner, he is wearing a hooded jacket and a scarf to cover his face, at the mall. They play games at the arcade. They have lunch together. And Spinner even spars with Izuku using fake swords. And then, when he made some more friends himself, he introduced me to them, and now I'm part of a whole group. Izuku says with a smile. Flashback. Izuku is holding his hero notebooks as he is at the bar, introduced by Spinner to Shigaraki, Kurogiri, Toga, Mustard, Compress, Dabi, Magna, Twice, Moonfish, and Muscular. I got a bad vibe from them at first, but they turned out to be not so bad once you got to know them, Izuku says. Well, I'm glad you found some good friends, Izuku, Ochako says. Ochako, may I ask, why do you want to be a hero? Izuku asks. I know you said your family was poor before, but now you're well off. Well, me being a hero is conditional to them making money, but I can't tell you that. But this is also the truth. Well, Izuku, money isn't the only reason I want to be a hero, Ochako says. Izuku raises an eyebrow. Oh. Yeah, Ochako says sadly. Growing up, my mom and dad always looked tired. It hurt me to see them so wiped out.
Tako smiles.
That's why, the first time I saw a hero on the street, I was more excited by the way bystanders and my parents reacted than anything else. I just loved to see how happy everybody looked. And that is why I still want to be a hero, Izuku. So I can make people smile. Flashback. Ochako is talking to AI at school. Whenever I would get excited and my quirk would activate accidentally, I was scolded by my teachers for using my quirk in public. Sometimes they even called a policeman. That's why I love it here at Daika. I can be who I am freely without being judged. And that's what I am going to do. Both as a hero and a member of the Emlet. Izuku smiles fondly at her. That is a wonderful reason to be a hero, Ochako, he says truthfully. Protecting people and making others happy should be how a real hero thinks. You was stupid for rejecting you. And I'll make sure the League doesn't hurt you either. Ochako blushes. Thank you. But, I'm kinda glad I was rejected now. Otherwise I wouldn't have gotten my great job and friends. Izuku looks down at his tea. You know, I dreamed of being a hero when I was younger. I hoped that when my quirk manifested, it would be super cool and I could be just like All Might. He frowns. And then I turned out to be quirkless. It crushed my heart. Well, you still could have been a sidekick or F rank, or maybe worked in the heroics field indirectly. Izuku chuckles bitterly. You're the only person who has ever told me anything remotely that reassuring. My mom apologized to me, my classmates mocked me, my teachers didn't respect me enough to help me, and a kid who was the closest thing I had to a best friend became my bully. I'm sorry, Ochako says. Izuku shrugs. It's not your fault. It's all in the past now. It's funny though, if you had ended up getting into UA, he would have been one of your classmates. Ochako blinks. Wait, the kid who used to bully you managed to get into UA? As much as I hate to admit it, he has a powerful quirk and he's always been great at everything he does. Izuku scoffs. But he has a ridiculously fragile ego due to constantly being praised for both all his life. You know, I had a bad experience with Airjet myself. During our second year of middle school, me and my bully saw a villain with a sand quirk fleeing with stolen purses. He, despite knowing quirk usage in public is illegal, thought he could chase down the villain and catch him so he could get a recommendation into UA. He managed to catch up to the villain, but before he could do anything, Airjet arrived and apprehended the villain instead. He threw a fit, but Airjet just brushed it off and praised him. Ochako's face scrunches up into a look of anger. Wait, the bully gets praised for using his quirk in public by Airjet, while I was called a villain? Airjet thought that Bakugo was chasing down the villain out of altruism. Izuku rolls his eyes, apparently not hearing him say that he wanted to kill the villain. And yet when I showed up, Airjet snapped at me to stay away. He didn't even know my quirk or not, but he didn't think to scold Bakugo for basically being a vigilante and using his quirk so he could beat up a villain. Stupid quirk discrimination. No kidding, Ochako thinks, irritated. If J-Argus with impressive quirks are given leeway, then there's no reason I shouldn't have. Wait, Bakugo? I'm sorry, go back, Ochako says. Bakugo? Do you mean Katsuki Bakugo? Izuku groans. Yes. Izuku pulls out his phone and scrolls through his pictures. He lives in my neighborhood and went to school up until junior high. Izuku shows Ochako a picture of Bakugo furiously screaming at the camera. That maniac from the sports festival was your bully for 10 years? Ochako shouts. Flashback. Ochako is disturbed watching the sports festival on TV, showing Bakugo tied up with a medal around his neck as he throws a tantrum. Second place Shinso and third place Todoroki. Oh my god. Izuku. I am so sorry you had to deal with that. Izuku looks away. He got really bad after the Sludge Villain incident. He was constantly afraid people were mocking him behind his back. That I was mocking him. So he beat me up every day for 9 months. He was nice enough to leave me alone after I had an accident and ended up in the hospital, I'll give him that. But we haven't really talked since then. Before all that, he assaulted me in class because he heard I still wanted to go to UA despite being quirkless, and he wanted to be the only one from our middle school to get into UA. For his ego. Ochako crosses her arms. That's just dumb. He burnt my notebook, destroyed my desk, and told me to jump off a building. He did what? Ochako yells. Okay, as soon as the revolution starts, I'm gonna find this guy and float him into the sun. But it's fine now, Izuku says. I don't have to deal with him anymore. I'm a lot happier now, especially since I have real friends. Izuku, you can't just let this guy get away with everything he did to you, Ochako says. You should tell UA about this. I guarantee they won't let a guy like that stay in T-Hero course. Izuku chuckles. You know, my friends say similar things all the time. You should get this guy. Give me the word and I'll burn him. But you know what? I just don't. Flashback. Izuku smirks while watching Bakugo spaz out during the sports festival. According to my mom, who talks to his mom, Bakugo hasn't been doing so well at UA. On his very first day, he lost a match against Endeavor's son when he froze a whole building they were doing a battle trial in. According to Aunt Mistuki, he threw a tantrum and cried when he got home. Izuku laughs. Bakugo's always had a massive ego and a hot temper. Everyone we ever knew always ignored his faults because of how amazing he was. But now he's surrounded by other amazing people. His ego can't take it. And his teachers and peers have higher standards than cool quirk, so he's not nearly as popular anymore. And seeing him spaz out like that on national television. All the comments of how crazy and villainous he came off online. Izuku laughs. Even his old cronies at school and old classmates of ours asked themselves why they ever thought he was cool. Ochako giggles. Looks like karma's caught up to him then. He always talked about being number one hero, Izuku says. Except part of that includes public appeal and saving people. Maybe he'll make it into the top 10 thanks to his quirk, but definitely not number one with that kind of attitude. He'll be lucky if his attitude doesn't drag him down. He's going to have to mature a lot if he even expects to graduate. And besides, I just really want to move on from him. I won't let him control my life anymore, so I'm just going to move on with my own goals and friends, and I'm going to forget I ever even knew him.
Ochako smiles.
Well, I think that is very mature of you. I respect that. And I'll tell you what, Izuku. If I ever become top 10 or number 1, I'll tell Bakugo that you're better than him. Izuku smiles.
Thanks.
I appreciate that. Izuku looks outside at the people walking on the sidewalk. You know, even when I was diagnosed quirkless, I still dreamed of being a hero. But it wasn't until recently I decided to focus on something more realistic. I'm taking engineering classes so I can design support gear, but I also want to be a teacher someday. That way, in one way or another, I can help people. And that is what I am going to do after my work is done with the league. Ochako smiles widely. That is wonderful, Izuku. Oh, and by the way, quirk or not, you're a great guy, and I think you would make a great hero. Izuku blushes. Thank you. Maybe if you build yourself some awesome support gear you can work on getting your hero license and we can work together? Why did I say that? Ochako asks. Not unless I become a millionaire, Izuku says. Although I am working on something big. What? Ochako asks. Wait, I can't tell her this. Anyway, enough about me, Izuku says. Tell me more about yourself. There's not much really, Ochako says. Like I said, I'm just going to school to get my hero license. My hero name is Uravity. Your name and a pun on gravity. Cute, Izuku says.
Thanks.
Wanna see my hero suit? Ochako pulls out her phone and shows Izuku a picture of her levitating several bricks of concrete with her quirk. Izuku's eyes bulge out of their sockets seeing Ochako in the skin-tight suit. He blushes. That, you look good. Ochako blushes as well. Really?
Yeah.
And, just to add, I've been working out. Izuku feels the need to add. Since I started high school I've been going to the gym. Watching defense classes online. Training with my friends. Working out. So I'm not weak and helpless. Izuku accidentally flexes his forearm. Ochako smiles at the noticeable definition. It's always good to work towards self-improvement, Ochako says. Later, Ochako and Izuku face each other. This was great, Ochako, Izuku says. It was nice to talk to a normal person about normal things for once. I had a great time too, Ochako says. Let's meet up again soon. This time, let's have our conversations be less depressing, okay? Izuku asks. Ochako laughs and nods. Sounds great. And I'll ask AI if she's into geckos. Maybe we can set her and spin her up. I think Spinner might be too old, but I'll ask Mustard. Mustard? It's a nickname since his quirk is releasing a gas. Anyway, do you want me to walk you to the train station? Ochako waves it off. No thanks. We came from different directions. But thanks for the offer. Bye. Bye, Uravity. The two secret villains part ways. Both glad at having met each other, both guilty over lying, but both grateful to have had someone they really connected to. Don't worry, Izuku Ochako. I'll make sure nothing happens to you, they both think. Later, Izuku stands before Shigaraki, Dr. Garaki, and All for One. He shows them the handheld laser gun and projector-like device that he has created. Again, I would like to thank you, Sensei, for having your UA spy provide me with that napkin used by the UA principal, who has a hyper-intelligence quirk, Izuku says. Using it, I was able to read through and completely absorb the information of dozens of books on engineering in a matter of hours. Flashback. Izuku is holding the napkin in one hand while speed reading a book he is holding in his other. There is a big stack of books on both sides of him. Not only am I passing my engineering class without even trying now, but combined with the scan quirk patch you provided for me and Eraserhead's hairs dash. Flashback. Izuku is using his scan quirk on a long black hair while sitting at a desk with mechanical parts all spread out. I was able to reverse engineer the erasure quirk and learn how to replicate it technologically. This is quite the achievement, young Midoriya, AFO says. This will certainly help our cause, Dr. Garaki says. Shigaraki smiles. With this, we can easily take down All Might. Can you imagine the number one hero being reduced to his skeletal form just before we end him? Especially since you already decayed his arm off, Izuku notes. Shigaraki grunts. If only that shooting NCP hadn't stopped me. I could have ended the symbol of peace right there. Flashback. During the USJ incident, Shigaraki charged at the weakened All Might. He grabs onto All Might's arm and the symbol of peace screams as his arm decays. His boy deflating into its frail state, to the other student's shock. Snipe then shows up and shoots Shigaraki's hand, causing the villain to pull away, while leaving just enough of him for the doctor to surgically remove one for all, of course, Shigaraki tells AFO. Now don't be so hard on yourself, senpai, Izuku says. Before you, I thought that All Might was an invincible god, even with his injury. Hearing that the League of Villains managed to destroy one of his arms piqued my interest long before Spinner introduced me to you. And that flattery of me over Stain is why I brought you in, Shigaraki says with a smile. I mean, aside from your delicious analysis of the sports festival participants. Dabi really loved the entry you made on Endeavor's son, especially the bit you put about him being hesitant to use his fireside. But does it work? Dr. Garaki asks. Izuku holds up a gun. It's a prototype, but it should work. Can I have a volunteer? Dr. Garaki steps back. FO is unfazed. Shigaraki steps forward. I need something to decay, Shigaraki says. AFO presses a button. Kurogyri. Please bring Tamura something he can use his quirk on safely. Right away, sir, Kurogyri's voice says through a speaker. Moments later, Kurogyri warped into the room with a bag of oranges. Ah, are we testing out young Midoriya's device? Kurogyri asks. We're seeing if it works, says AFO. Shigaraki grabs an orange and slowly uses his decay on it. The orange turns gray and cracks from the bottom up as Izuku adjusts his projector device. Now, I have two settings for this so far. One is the standard erasure. Izuku activates the projector at Shigaraki. Shigaraki feels nothing as the red light shines on him, but the orange in his hand stops decaying. Shigaraki grunts as he tries to use his quirk, but the orange stays in the same state. Izuku chuckles and turns off the light, allowing Shigaraki to turn the orange into dust. Erasure sends out a quirk energy that acts as a barrier on another person's quirk factor, Izuku explains. As long as the light to this device is on and touching another person, their quirk is indefinitely unusable. He holds up the laser gun. After mapping out the blueprints for this device, I made a smaller version which I combined with this stun gun. So now when you shoot a target with this, the quirk energy will strike your quirk factor in a way that it will be temporarily deactivated. But it's not fatal, and they will recover fully after 10 minutes. You seem quite sure of yourself there, Dr. Garaki states. I had Jiren help me test it out, Izuku says. Flashback. Izuku fires his prototype laser gun at his two old bullies, Long Fingers and Shark Mouth, as they are tied up. Jiren erased their memories and kept them drugged. They were playing hooky, and I had twice make a clone of me for school, Izuku explains. They remember nothing, and we have nothing to worry about. All for One claps his hands. Oh, this is a spectacular achievement, young Midoriya. With this, All Might is done for. Next time we fight him, let's defeat him in front of a camera, Izuku says. If we're going to make society lose its faith in heroes, it has to be done for the whole world to see. AFO turns to Shigaraki. You did well inviting this one in, Tamura. Thanks, Spinner, Shigaraki says. Young Midoriya, FO says. As a reward, I shall grant you any quirk of your choosing, permanently. Izuku waves his hand. Thank you, sensei, but I already have my copy ability and patches. Though, I would like to learn more about quirks and Nomu. Could I work with Dr. Garaki? What do you say, doctor? Kurogyri asks. Dr. Garaki shrugs. I don't see why not. He's certainly intelligent enough. And he already has experience with Nomu. Izuku winces. Flashback. Izuku stands over the bodies of several slain Nomu, including one with wings that he was told moments before their fight was one of Bakugo's old friends, Tsuba. Izuku's scars are healing thanks to the regeneration patch stuck to his back, but he is panting in exhaustion, and the knives in his hands are dripping with blood. He weakly looks up at AFO as the demon lord approaches him. If you want to change society, young Midoriya, you have to get used to getting your hands dirty. It took 10 cycles of the Nomu tearing you apart before you managed to fight back. Later, Izuku, still tired and weary, stands before a tied-up hero in makeshift medieval armor. This is the hero, Shining Knight, Kurojiri introduces. He was on Stain's list before he was arrested by Endeavor, says AFO. Pious. He's the hero who is rumored to be very forward with women, Izuku notes, weakly looking at the terrified hero tied in front of him. Not rumors, Kurojiri says as he hands Izuku a folder. Izuku opens it and sees various images taken of Shining Knight Jarpenji, a crying woman as he covers her mouth, has his way, with a woman while she is sleeping, and many more unpleasant things. You know what you have to do, Kurojiri says. Izuku weakly faces the tied-up hero, lets out a sigh, and raises his knife. The hero's muffled screams are the last noises he ever makes before Izuku plunges his knife into his skull. Izuku chuckles weakly. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Oh, and that reminds me, Dr. Garaki says. I made some friends to school with you. Izuku raises an eyebrow. Huh. Technically, they are Nomu, AFO says. But they have been altered to keep their intelligence and retain their human appearances. They will be your friends at school during the day and serve the league with you at night. Kurojiri waves his hand and opens a warp gate. 3 figures step through. One is a frog-like heteromorph with green toad-like bumpy skin and a long tongue sticking out of her mouth that is sparking with electricity. She has long black hair and a feminine body shape. The other looks like a big silver robot with glowing yellow eyes. And the other towers above the other two, huge, muscular, with pitch-black skin, a typical Nomu exposed brain, sharp teeth, and purple pod-like growths on his arms and head. The 3 figures then morph into humanoid forms. Ironically, the largest one becomes a midget, which causes Izuku's eyes to widen in recognition from news articles. Wait, I know these guys. Izuku says. They dash. They are Nomu that I brought to life using bodies recovered from UA hero students your age, Dr. Garaki says. 2 of which drowned during the USJ attack. The other was Stain's final victim before incarceration. Nice to meet you, Midoriya, the girl with the still somewhat frog-like look says. My name is Jumper Cable, the girl once known as Tsuyu Azui says. Her tongue reaches across several feet and grabs onto an orange, before sending out an electric current that electrocutes it and causes it to splatter. The taller one, after the bigger Nomu turned into a midget, lets out a cheesy evil laugh. And I am the villain accelerator, says the boy who was once Tenya Ida. The midget that was once Mineta Minoru raises his hand. Short fuse. I don't know why they couldn't make my human form bigger, but as a Nomu I can tear off sticky ball from my arms and head that contain nitroglycerin and explode. I also generate bombs, explode my whole body and regenerate. Plus I can leap really far and I'm super strong. I had to heavily alter this one so he would be tolerable around women, Dr. Garaki explains to Izuku. This feels wrong, Izuku says. We're not too worried about the people we used to be, Jumper Cable says. We're just here to help you. And help the League of Villains. Accelerator says before letting out an evil laugh. Izuku sighs. Ochako would be disgusted with me if she knew about this. Meanwhile, Ochako is with her friends AI and Asta. They are in their hero suits, a wrestling suit for AI and a military uniform for Asta, as they stand before Curious. All right, I'm sure you are all aware of the League of Villains, Curious says. The schmoes who took All Might's arm? Asta asks. Exactly, says Curious. They have become hot topic in the underworld since their attack on UA. Kinda glad I didn't get in now, Ochako thinks. I heard 2 kids died. Reed Estro does not want anyone overshadowing and potentially threatening the army. So we are going to be training our top 3 students, you, to be our elite force against them. Curious gives them the army's L salute, which Ochako, AI, and Asta give back. For this, we brought in a guest. Come on out, Shinso. The door opens and a boy with spike purple hair enters the room. Ochako recognizes him as Hitoshi Shinso, the UA Gen Ed student with the brainwashing quirk. This is Hitoshi Shinso, Curious introduces. I'm sure you recognize Hitoshi Shinso. No, AI says bluntly. He is cute through, says Shishi swells bigger. He goes to UA and he has a brainwash quirk, Asta says. He got in 3rd before Todoroki deduced what his quirk was, and he forfeited, Ochako says. Does he have a girlfriend? AI asks, now 6 feet tall and muscular. Anyway, Shinso says, I was hired by Dedestro as a recruiter. I have already brought in several students into the army. But now, I am here to help you 3 ladies. And how are you going to do that? Asta asks. Shinso turns his head back to the door. Come on in, he says. 3 old men walk into the room. They are in a trance-like state, clearly brainwashed. These 3 old crones are members of the Creature Rejection Clan, Curious says. Ochako's eyes widen. Creature Rejection Clan? That is still a thing. Unfortunately, yes, says Shinso. I used my brainwash on them to make them confirm that they have each murdered at least 1 heteromorph in their lives. Curious turns to the girls. Kill them. AI and Ochako gasp while Asta is unfazed. What? AI asks. We need to get used to killing if we're going to be fighting villains, Asta says. How are you so calm about this? Ochako asks. We're just being asked to kill murderous bigots who are close to death anyway, Asta says. It's not like they are asking us to kill a cat. Asta pulls out a pen from her pocket. She transforms it into a rifle and fires a bullet at one of the clan members' heads. That clan member falls dead with a red hole in his head. Blood pours onto the floor as her 2 friends stare at her in horror. Asta just faces them as if nothing happened. Now your turn. Hold up. AI says. I can't do this. Yes you can, Shinso says, activating his quirk. AI enters a trance-like state. AI, you joined the army because you want to be free, right? Shinso asks and AI nods. Well, how are you going to fight for your freedom if you can't even do this? Can you imagine if your friend or family member was threatened and you had to kill their attacker to save their life? Are you going to hesitate, or are you going to protect them? If you don't kill these men now, then they are just going to go out and keep being clan members. They are going to hurt innocent people, just for looking different. The clan has targeted teenagers, children, whole families. If you want to save anyone else from suffering, you need to do this. Okay. AI, still in her trance, nods. She reaches forward in her muscular form and grabs the clan member by the neck. She squeezes and Ochako watches as the second clan member falls to the ground, dead. AI wakes up from her trance with blood on her hand as she fully reverts back to her base size. You did well, Shinso says as AI looks at her hand, horrified. I am very proud of you. AI somewhat recovers from her shock and gives Shinso and Curious a guilt-ridden smile. Ochako, now it is your turn, says Curious. Ochako looks at the man in front of her. She stares. She contemplates. She gazes at the bodies of the 2 clan members on the ground and she turns to her friends. Ms. Curious, if Ochako doesn't want to kill Dash. Asta is interrupted by Ochako. Hold on. Ochako turns to Curious. I have a question. What is the army's stance on quirkless people? I mean quirkless people who were born from those with quirks. Huh? Curious asks. Why are you asking that? Actually that's a good question, Shinso asks. Because it was a quirkless guy I met online who convinced me to come here. I owe him a lot. And Uravity's new boyfriend is quirkless, Asta teases. Curious tenses up. Well, I suppose, as long as they don't hate quirks like their ancestors did they are okay. Oh, he doesn't. Ochako says. Izuku loves quirks. He asked me a lot of questions about mine. But he was bullied for being quirkless, And I want to know if the army will encourage behavior like that when we take over. Oh no, Curious says. I assure you, Ochako, we just want the freedom to use our quirks as we please. We will still maintain other laws for the sake of a civilized society. Like not using your quirks to torment others.
Tako smiles.
Then I need to do whatever I can to help the army win, so that I can be free to protect people like him. Ochako takes a deep breath and touches her fingertips on the last clan member's forehead. And then she presses a button on her wristband. It glows blue. Quirk inversion device activated. The band says. Ochako cringes as she realizes what she is about to do. She replays in her head what Shinso told AI about this guy deserving it. And then, after a minute or two of hesitation, and prompting from Curious, Ochako activates her quirk, which is reversed by her band. Goodbye, Ochako says before activating her inverted quirk. The clan member suddenly gains 3 tons and he collapses under his own weight, becoming a red stain on the ground. Ochako stares at the red stain as Curious pats her shoulder. You did well, Curious tells her. I just killed someone, Ochako says, still riling from shock. Me too, says AI. They were murderers and bigots, says Asta. Not worth losing any sleep over. Agreed, says Shinso. The first blood is never easy for anyone, says Curious. You two just remind yourselves of why you had to do this. I assure you, whatever guilt you are feeling will fade. Ochako looks up at Curious and nods. Izuku sits awkwardly in front of the 3 Nomu who are meant to be his new friends at school. Each one having a previous life as a UA student. Mustard and Toga sit behind him. Mustard is indifferent and Toga is excited. So, you guys are basically zombies? Mustard asks the Nomu's jumper cable, accelerator, and short fuse. Not zombies, Accelerator says. We are very much alive, I assure you. According to the doctor, we are new beings made from human corpses, says Jumper Cable. But I feel alive. I know I am alive, Short Fuse says, eyes constantly shifting from looking at Jumper's chest to at Izuku, and moving his leg to cover his crotch. Yortsuyu Ajui, Mineta Minoru, and Tenya Ida, Izuku says, pointing at the Nomu Jumper Cable, Short Fuse, and Accelerator respectively. I saw you on the news, you were all former UA students who died from villains. He points to Tsuyu Jumper and Mineta Short respectively. You two were drowned during the USJ attack. He then points to Tenya Accelerator, and you died confronting Stain after he crippled your brother, Ingenium. Tenya Accelerator blinks and freezes. Ingenium? Izuku flinches and scoots back as Tenya Accelerator spazzes. His body twitches as if his mind is short-circuiting. This goes on for 30 seconds until he finally stops and smiles. Our past lives are unimportant. I am the Accelerator now. Yeah, I mean I don't really remember my old life, says Jumper. Everything is foggy. And even if I did remember, we're legally dead. So it's not like I can just go to my parents' house and say, hey, it's me, your amnesic resurrected daughter. They would probably freak out. We should probably just stay here. Ribbit. I for one am grateful, Short Fuse says. What little memories I have of the old me are very embarrassing. Flashback. Mineta tries to peep up a girl's skirt in middle school. The girl cringes in disgust and smacks him. The doctor made sure I came back a better man. Flashback. As Dr. Garaki is working on Mineta's body, he has his eyelids taped open and a screen in front of his face showing images of feminist rallies. Oh, and Jumper, if I ever molested you in our past lives, I am really sorry, Short Fuse says. It's okay, Ribbit. Don't feel too guilty, young Midoriya, Kurogyri says, walking by with a glass in his hand. Remember, they were all dead before the doctor brought them back for you. What is worse, gaining a new chance at life as your friends, being incinerated and buried in a grave, or worse, becoming a mindless Nomu? That actually makes some sense, Izuku says. Look at me, Kurogyri says. I am a Nomu as well. Wait, really? Mustard asks. Yes, I was made from the corpse of a former UA student as well. Kurogyri waves it off. I have no memory of my old self, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that I am Kurogyri now. just like how they are jumper cable, accelerator, and short fuse. He puts a hand on Izuku's shoulder. And perhaps you can appreciate that once you get to know them better. Toga smiles. Well, I for one am glad to have more girls in the league. She extends her hand. Nice to meet you, Jumper. I'm Himiko Toga. Jumper smiles and shakes it. Jumper cable, ribbit. Mustard eyes, short fuse. So, they gave you the same quirk as Izuku's old bully? Yes, short fuse says. And I think I vaguely remember being bullied by him as well. Short fuse flexes his arm, which morphs into its larger and more muscular Nomo form. So I look forward to showing him these. Tiny explosions crackle in his fist, and Mustard smiles at the humanoid Nomo. Accelerator bows to Izuku. I swear to be a loyal friend to you and a servant to the league. I have even been practicing my villain laugh. Izuku smiles fondly and rolls his eyes at his cartoony villain laugh. Okay, I suppose it wouldn't hurt to get to know you guys, Izuku says. So, what are your quirks? High-end Nomu, accelerator, Tenya Ida. Quirks. Engine. Engine is Tenya Ida's natural quirk. He has a set of orange juice-powered engines in his calves which allow him to run at incredible speeds. After being revived as a Nomu, the mufflers on his calves are much longer and provide for a greater running time. Thanks to his regeneration quirk, he can also push himself further without worrying about internal damage. Super regeneration. Like all high-end Nomu, Accelerator possesses super regeneration, which allows him to heal from injuries and recover from damage to his body quickly. He can regrow limbs and heal any damage done to his calf engines from overuse. Shell. Accelerator can form a shell-like armor over his body that serves to protect him from physical damage and conceal his identity. The armor is metallic and black in color like normal high-end Nomu. The face of his armored shell looks similar to his original self's costume helmet. Sword arms. Accelerator can transform his arms into blades from his elbow down. These blades are so sharp they can cut through almost anything. Electricity generation. The Accelerator can generate an electric current from his body. While he cannot fire electricity at his targets, he can charge his punches so that they deliver greater damage combined with his enhanced strength, durability, and speed. The charge running through his metallic shell also serves to protect him from being touched by enemies. Body alteration. Accelerator has the ability to alter his body in small ways such as adjusting his height by a few inches, changing his body type, hair and eye color, the shape of his nose, etc. He uses this when he goes out in public so he is not recognized as Tenya Ida. When he attends school with Izuku as Kaito, he makes himself a few inches shorter, his hair becomes longer and brown, and his face becomes narrower. Super strength. Like all Nomu, Accelerator possesses enhanced strength. Though this is a result of the modifications to his body rather than a true quirk. High-end Nomu, jumper cable, Tsuyu Azui. Quirks. Frog. Frog is Tsuyu's original quirk. It grants her many frog-like capabilities such as a tongue that can stretch up to 63 feet, jumping, sticking to walls, swimming, mucus secretion, and camouflage. After being altered by Dr. Garaki, Frog gives Jumper the ability to take a more frog-like appearance similar to Tsuyu's Father's heteromorph form albeit with green skin, while also increasing her physical strength and durability, though she can change back to her more humanoid form at will. Super regeneration. Like all high-end Nomu, Jumper Cable possesses super regeneration, which allows her to heal from injuries and recover from damage to her body quickly. She can regrow limbs and heal any damage done to her body. Electric tongue. Jumper can emit an electric current from her tongue that can electrocute victims stuck to it. The current is strong enough to knock someone out. Body alteration. Jumper has the ability to alter her body in small ways such as adjusting her height by a few inches, changing her body type, hair and eye color, the shape of her nose, etc. She uses this when she goes out in public so she is not recognized as Tsuyu Azui. When she attends school with Izuku as Yuki, she makes herself as tall and voluptuous as Momo Yaoyorozu due to a subconscious envy her past self used to have for her fellow students' features. She also normalizes her hands and mouth, as well as gives herself green irises. High-end Nomo, short fuse, Mineta Minoru. Short Fuse is the strongest of Izuku's Nomu friend group and one of the strongest Nomu overall, if not the strongest. Dr. Garaki owes this to his master's notes from the villain factory in the creation of the bombers and the information about Katsuki Bakugo's quirk provided by Izuku Midoriya, plus DNA samples. Quirks. Pop-Off. Pop-Off is Mineta's original quirk. He would generate sticky purple ball from his head that he could throw and stick things and people together. After modifications by Dr. Garaki, the ball became filled with nitroglycerin, effectively turning them into sticky grenades that burst seconds after being plucked. Short Fuse can adjust the explosiveness of the ball and how long it takes before they explode. Bombify. Short Fuse can generate bomb-like growths from any part of his body that resemble his purple ball. He can detonate these bombs at any time and throw them much like his pop-off ball, or detonate them on his body. He can generate these ball in the palms of his hands to simulate the explosion quirk. He likes to keep clusters of them pre-grown on his forearms. Super Regeneration. Like all high-end Nomu, Short Fuse possesses Super Regeneration, which allows him to heal from injuries and recover from damage to his body quickly. He uses this to survive his self-detonation quirk, which otherwise would be fatal. Self-detonation. Short Fuse can self-detonate his body, causing him to combust in a powerful explosion that is capable of destroying a building up to a city block, thanks to the high level of nitroglycerin in his body. This quirk would be fatal if not for the presence of his Super Regeneration quirk. Though it is also very painful, so he tries to use it as little as possible. Muscle Expansion X4. Short Fuse possesses multiple muscle expansion quirks that allow his short body to grow up to 8 feet tall and give him extraordinary muscle mass, effectively turning him into a big purple Hulk. Immense strength and durability. Due to heavy body modifications done by Dr. Garaki, Short Fuse possesses immense physical strength and durability on par with All Might, or at least very close. This, in conjunction with his explosion quirk, makes him a formidable opponent and one of the strongest Nomu out there. Body Alteration. Short Fuse has the ability to alter his body in small ways, such as adjusting his height by a few inches, changing his body type, hair and eye color, the shape of his nose, etc. He uses this when he goes out in public so she is not recognized as Mineta Minoru. When he attends school with Izuku as Ryo, he stretches his body to make himself taller. Though he can only reach up to 4 feet tall, making his base human form is still shorter than Izuku and the rest of their friends. He also flattens the ball on his head and arms to hide them under his hair and long-sleeve shirt. He also makes his hair longer and dusty blonde. Due to how heavily modified his body is, he is the least human looking out of all the Nomu, having the same black skin and exposed brain as his brethren, so he uses this quirk to appear as his previous self. A few days later, Ochako screams as she slams her hands to the ground, engulfing the area in her pink aura. AI slams her massive fists on the ground so hard that the ground in front of her beaks apart into smaller pieces of debris and flies into the air, under the effects of Ochako's quirk. Asta jumps in, with a cold, focused look on her face. She transforms her shirt into metallic armor. It is still white and has the same pattern as her shirt, but it has spikes and a technological look, and a piece of rubble in her hands into a large stone bat. Asta swings the bat at the floating rubble and several training droids that were firing at them are hit and destroyed by the flying projectiles. Excellent teamwork, girls, Curious says. And Euro, the armor is new. Thanks, Asta says. It's battle armor that's designed to aid me strength-wise. I had to do a lot of studying before I could perfect it. Flashback. Asta has bags under her eyes as she reads through various blueprints of strength-enhancing armor. A lot of studying. How advanced can you make it? Ochako asks. I'm not going to make a super suit for your quirkless boyfriend, Asta states. Why not? Because if he becomes a hero, we might have to fight him. Ochako pouts. They fight. Maybe after the revolution then? Asta shrugs. You've come quite far in your studies, Asta, AI says as she shrinks to her petite size. I've also learned how to make heat-seeking missiles, Asta says holding a handful of pens. She throws them into the air while simultaneously turning them into missiles. They fly toward the remaining robots, shifting and turning as they lock onto their targets. Then kaboom. Awesome, Ochako says. Now check this out. A new wave of training droids fires paintballs at Ochako as she runs toward them. Ochako easily dodges using her weightless body and aerosol propellers in her leg armor. She then floats high into the air and activates her quirk inverter on her wrist before falling legs first on top of one of the droids. The droid crushes under her, due to her inversion tech, massive weight, and the impact even causes the surrounding droids to fall over as the earth beneath them cracks upward. A flying droid comes at Ochako, but she removes the weight from a broken droid, activates a gauntlet on her wrist, and punches it at the flying droid. Uravity smash. Both droids are further destroyed. Very creative, Ms. Uraraka, Curious says. I see you've taken inspiration from All Might. Yeah. Flashback. Ochako is lying in bed, texting Izuku. Previous texts from her include a pic of her in her hero suit and a close-up of her inversion bracelets. I still need to come up with ultimate moves, Ochako tests. Maybe if you used your inversion tech in midair or got a gauntlet, you could make yourself weigh several tons or remove the weight of objects and then punch them away. Kind of like an all-might smash. Izuku suggests. Are you saying I'm fat? Ochako asks with a smirk and an eye-raised emoji. No. I didn't mean that. You look great. Mean. Izuku texts rapidly as Ochako giggles at his expression. AI slumps. You guys are so lucky. All I can do is hit hard. Don't be like that, AI, Ochako says. Try focusing your force on one area, like we talked about. Or try creating enough force in the air to hit faraway targets like All Might. No one's as strong as All Might. AI says. You could be if you let yourself grow big enough, AI says. Remember, AI, Shinso says. Strength isn't everything. It is important to use your skill set in addition to your quirk. Since joining the army, I have been trained in hand-to-hand combat in addition to the use of weapons. Yet you still relied on your quirk throughout the entire sports festival and forfeited when you went up against the explosion guy, Asta points out. Yes, Shinso says. Bakugo deduced the nature of my quirk and I thought it would be best to not show off too much so my cover wouldn't have been blown. He did not take it well. Flashback. Bakugo is grabbing Shinso by the collar and screaming in his face. Shinso is unfazed, while Midnight looks freaked out. You bastard! Bakugo shouts. It's bad enough that you denied me a rematch with half and half, but you took away my perfect victory too? It doesn't matter if I win. Not unless I earned it. Not unless the person I was up against gave it their all. It doesn't matter if everyone here thinks I'm the best if dash. Everyone here thinks you're a lunatic, Shinso points out, unfazed by Bakugo's outburst. What did you say? Bakugo shouts. Stop, Shinso says quietly. Bakugo falls under the effects of the brainwashing quirk and he turns to Midnight. Does this still count as a win for me, or not because I already forfeited? He asks. Bakugo is still the winner by default, sorry, Midnight says. Will I get in trouble for using my quirk on him now? Shinso asks. It was in self-defense. I was going to use my quirk on him before you did, says Midnight. All right then, I'll be on my way. Present. He tried confronting me the next day, but Mr. Aizawa restrained him, Shinso says. He has an erasure quirk. Curious cringes. Abomination. A quirk that negates other quirks. Oh, but that reminds me. Shinso was able to recruit 2 students from UA. You too can come out now. The door to the training grounds opens. In comes a blonde boy in a nice suit, which immediately gets AI flustered and growing again. Beside him is a tall dark-haired girl with a voluptuous figure and a very revealing red suit, which makes Asta look down in envy at her own chest, and Ochako's eyes bulge out. This is my good friend, Monoma, Shinso says, pointing to the blonde. Pleasure to be here, Monoma says. My quirk is Copy. AI lights up. Oh, so you can have any power you want? That's incredible. Monoma becomes teary-eyed. You people are the only ones to ever tell me that. And who is she? Asta asks, pointing at the dark-haired girl. I am Momo Yaoyorozu, the dark-haired girl says. My quirk is creation. Momo holds her hands up to her revealing chest. The area bursts with light and a roll of tape appears. Ochako and Asta both gasp. I can transform the lipids in my body into anything I want, so long as I know the molecular composition. Whoa, that's incredible, Ochako says. Asta growls. I can only make weapons.
Flashback.
A 5-year-old Asta stares in horror at a chair that is spiked and has a bear trap on the seat. I was trying to make a normal chair, she cries. So why did you two join the army? Ochako asks. Well, Shinso invited me to a seminar, which turned out to be a MLA recruitment drive. Monoma says. Also, pretty sure you used your quirk on me a bit. Just a little, Shinso says. More or less. But still, I love being around people who appreciate my quirk. I was also invited to a seminar, says Momo. Flashback. Momo is watching the seminar while Shoto whispers into her ear. She is in a trance-like state. Monoma is next to her, also in a trance. Her family owns several major companies, which is why Destro asked Shinso to recruit her, specifically, Kiria says. I also attempted to recruit the one who shoots lasers out of his navel, but he said he would come to a seminar if I gave him a strand of my hair, Shinso says. It was weird, but he said he had a cousin with a weird hobby who kept pestering him about it. So I just plucked a hair and walked away. Asta cringes. His cousin sounds like a weirdo. Maybe his cousin has a copy quirk like Monoma does, Ochako says. Besides, we shouldn't judge. Everyone has their own hobbies. Anyway, Momo says, by me joining the army that only means you're going to use my family's resources to promote elections for officials that will remove quirk regulations. Right? Momo asks. If it is that easy, Curious says. That is definitely one of our plans, but we still like to have a force on standby. The MLA also promised to help my friend, Shoto, overcome his past issues and unlock his full potential, Momo says. AI raises an eyebrow. What do you mean? Die you bastard. Mandalay shouts as she charges at Muscular. Muscular. Quirk. Muscle augmentation. He can add more than 12,000 layers of extra muscle outside his body that give him immense physical strength. 2 years ago, he lost his eye while fighting the pro-hero couple team, Water Hose, where he killed the heroes, leaving Water Hose's 4-year-old son, Kota Izumi, an orphan. Come at me, kitty. I'll kill you like I killed Water Hose. Muscular shouts as he smashes through an earth beast created by Pixie Bob's earth flow. Mandalay pounces at Musicler with her claws, but Muscular smacks her away. Mandalay is caught by Tiger, right before they are joined by Ragdoll and Pixie Bob. They glare at the one-eyed villain, who is smiling viciously at them. The Wild Pussycats. They are a cat-themed pro-hero team that specializes in mountain rescue operations. Each one is considered a veteran in their respective field. Tiger growls. You have some nerve coming here and causing trouble. After you made our Kota an orphan, Pixie Bob snarls. My nephew hates heroes now because of you. Mandalay shouts. Muscular laughs. Show me your blood. Muscular uplifts and throws a tree at the Pussycats. But they manage to dodge. Mandalay. How did this creep even get here? Ragdoll asks. I don't know. Mandalay says. I was just doing my forest training exercises like the rest of you, when a dark swirling portal opened up and Muscular came out. Shino Sosaki, Mandalay. Leader of the Wild Pussycats. Quirk, telepath. Mandalay can send her thoughts into other people's heads, allowing her to send messages to her teammates over long distances. However, she cannot hear their thoughts back. That means he must be working with someone with a warp quirk. Pixie Bob shouts as she moves in to engage Muscular with her earth flow quirk, creating a wave of stone, dirt, and rocks and then sending it at Muscular, which he distilled easily with a single punch, only for him to be wrapped around the torso by Tiger from behind. Ryuko Tsuchikawa, Pixie Bob. Quirk, earth flow. Pixie Bob can manipulate the earth and mold it into anything she wants. She can even use a special move called Earth Beast, where she creates beings of various shapes and sizes made of soil and earth that she can remotely control. Yuara Chatora, Tiger. Quirk, Pliabody. Tiger can stretch and flatten his body at will, making him elastic. Ragdoll, use your search quirk, Mandalay says. On it. Ragdoll uses her search quirk. Tomoko Shiratoko, Ragdoll. Quirk, search. She can monitor and observe 100 people at a time, giving her their location and weak points. Search identifies people by their quirk and DNA signatures. I'm getting 2 extra people outside our forest, Ragdoll says. One looks like a dark fog and the other is some kid with green eyes. The fog guy must have been the one to warp Muscular in and the kid could be a hostage, Mandalay says. After we take down Muscular, we'll dash. Muscular throws Pixie Bob and Tiger off of him, and then slams his fists down on the ground. The result creates a shockwave that knocks the pussycats back. Mandalay sits up and growls. All right, let's get him together, team. Yeah, they shout. However, before they can fight again, a warp gate opens up and Izuku Midoriya steps through. Okay, everyone. Stop, Izuku says. The pussycats pause and fall into a trance-like state. Flashback. Kurogyri hands a piece of paper with purple hairs taped to it with the name Shinso written under it, along with a used napkin with Hagakure written on it. From our spy. The DNA samples you requested, Kurogyri tells Izuku as he smiles at the hairs and the napkin. He touches the napkin and activates his copy quirk, becoming invisible except for his clothes. Amazing! Izuku says. And you can tell the spy he doesn't have to get any more samples for me. I just need one more quirk and I can get all the samples I want myself. What quirk is that? Kurogyri asks. Izuku's quirk notebook. Brainwashing, acquired from Hitoshi Shinso. Allows the user to put their target in a trance-like state where they respond to the user's commands. However, it can only be activated on one person at a time and the target has to respond to something they say. Flashback. Izuku puts Shinso's hair into a black glove, which he slides on his hand. He then looks all around him to make sure he isn't being watched. Once he is sure the coast is clear, he takes the patch with the thumbprint on it from Kathleen Bate, Star and Stripe, and puts it in his other glove before wearing it. New order. Brainwashing shall allow me to activate and absolutely control multiple people at once and by my command alone, without someone having to respond to me. And they shall have no recollection of what happened. Izuku's quirk notebook. New order. Acquired from America's #1 hero, Star and Stripe. The user can set a new rule onto a target by calling out their name, allowing them to manipulate and bestow new properties onto themselves and the world around them. However, the user can only manipulate things to an extent, and they can only have 2 rules active at once. Once a new rule is made, the previous rule is discarded. Muscular laughs as he walks around the pussycats as they are frozen in place and unaware of what is happening around them. Now, this is hardly a fair fight, isn't it? Muscular asks. 1 hit and I can kill them all. You're done here, Gata, Izuku says. You can leave now. Hey, you aren't the boss of me, kid. Muscular says. Come on, for less heroes we need to worry about, Muscular says, raising his fist. This is young Midoriya's mission and he said no, Kurogyri says. Pussycats, Izuku says as he reaches into his backpack and pulls out a notebook and a tape roll. I want each of you to pluck a few hairs from your heads. The 4 members of the pussycats do as he says. Izuku smiles, takes each of the hairs, and tapes them into his notebook, beside entries of what the quirk is, who he got it from, and what they do. Excellent. Now once me, Kurogyri, and Muscular are gone, I want you all to forget everything that just happened, Izuku says. You just met up during training, and you stopped because you noticed a tree had fallen over and you wanted to investigate. But you'll ultimately decide it is no big deal. Kurogyri opens another warp gate. Muscular grumbles as he steps through. Izuku gives the pussycats another look before going through and Kurogyri shortly after. The pussycats snap out of their daze as soon as the villains are gone. What just happened? Mandalay asks. Tiger notices the fallen tree. We found an unearthed tree. Oh, right. Now, how did that happen? Ragdoll asks. It's no biggie, I can just fix it, Pixie Bob says. Elsewhere, Mount Lady is walking out of an ice cream shop in her civilian attire, happily munching on an ice cream cone. Izuku, naked but using invisibility, sneaks up behind her. He has an uncomfortable look on his face. I feel so wrong doing this, Izuku thinks, realizing he is sneaking up on a woman while naked in public. Izuku's quirk notebook. Quirk, invisibility. Acquired from UA heroic student Toru Hagakure. It makes the user permanently invisible by warping light around their body. Yet, somehow, they are still able to see despite light passing through their eyes. The downside is that they cannot turn it off or make their clothes invisible. The user can also warp the light around them in a way that blinds an opponent. Must not be used against individuals with infrared or quirks that could allow detection. Just keep walking, lady, Takayama, Izuku thinks, using a combination of his new order-altered brainwashing and telepathy quirks. Mount Lady continues walking as if nothing happened, but she is in a slight daze. Izuku quickly walks up behind her and plucks a hair without anyone realizing it. Okay, you're free now, Izuku thinks before running off. And Mount Lady resumes her way, oblivious that anything happened. Shigaraki claps his hands. He is sitting in front of Izuku at the bar. He is drinking sake while Izuku is drinking a version daiquiri. Muscular is leaning against the wall, glaring at Izuku off to the side. While the rest of the league, bar Moonfish, are centered around Izuku and Shigaraki. Even Izuku's Noma friends are there as well. Nicely done, Deku. You have used the quirk that Master has given you to its fullest potential. Thank you, Senpai, Izuku says. Remember what Shigaraki said? Own the name so it can't be used as an insult. With the telepath, brainwashing, and invisibility quirks, I can now gain any quirk I need. Izuku gestures to a stack of folders on the table beside him. Kurojairi was nice enough to give me a list of all the students and teachers at UA and other hero schools in the area. I'm going to read through them and determine what quirks I think will be most useful. Then I can intercept them on their way home and take a couple of hairs before anyone notices. You're so smart, Deku-kun, Himiko says. One question though, Magna says. I understand that copy lets you use multiple quirks at once, and I know you use it in conjunction with telepathy, but I thought your entry said that brainwashing can only be used on one person at a time and they need to respond to something you say. Izuku pauses. Yeah, I may have left out the fact that I got new order from the league. It's not that I don't trust them, it's just that I know Shigaraki will tell Sensei and, honestly I'm getting weird vibes from that guy. They just know I have Flight from Captain Celebrity and Slide and Glide from his sidekick, the Crawler. Yeah, I was surprised too, Izuku says. I guess when you combine two quirks together, it unlocks a whole new level of possibilities. Well, the important thing is that Deku-kun has a lot more quirks that he can use, says Magna. I'm going to reverse engineer the telepathy and brainwash quirks for a new invention, Izuku says. I'll also see if I can make a suit to provide invisibility so I won't have to dash. Izuku stops himself, remembering that Himiko is here. Come to think of it, I probably could have just used new order to spread invisibility to my clothes. No, Kurojairi would have questioned it. Have to what, Izuku? Spinner asks. Oh, I know, Shigaraki says with a smirk. Invisibility doesn't make your clothes invisible, so he had to get Mount Lady's hairs naked. The rest of the league bursts into laughter as Izuku pouts in embarrassment and Himiko blushes. I have some complaints, though, Muscular says. This brat stopped me from killing the pussycats. We got what we went there for, there was no reason to kill anyone, Izuku says. It would have been less heroes. Muscular shouts. Izuku doesn't have to kill anyone he doesn't want to, Spinner says. And killing someone while they are brainwashed? Compress scoffs. How low? Come on, Shigaraki, Muscular says. You gotta agree with me here. Flesh. Moonfish adds. See? He gets it. Though I don't disagree, Shigaraki says. As long as Deku completes his objective, I'm happy. And I am sure that he won't hesitate if he is in an actual fight. You're going to side with this unevolved wuss? Muscular shouts. The rest of the league, bar Moonfish, glare at Muscular when he calls Izuku unevolved. Shigaraki sets his glass down and accidentally activates his quirk, shattering the glass. This unevolved was has provided invaluable data on quirks, methods on how to enhance all of ours, and technology we couldn't have imagined. You are a brute who is only good for killing things. So shut up and kill when we tell you to kill. Shigaraki goes back to talking with Izuku, while Muscular glares at both of them. That kid's no villain, Muscular thinks. I gotta get the boss to realize that. Later, so anyways, Dad, Izuku says, speaking into the phone as Kurogiri, Himiko, Mustard, Shigaraki, Spinner, and Dabi watch with interest. I want to thank you a ton for tending me those hero fingerprints. Izuku holds up 2 patches between his fingers. The ones from Captain Celebrity and his sidekick will be great additions to my collection. Glad I could help, son, Hisashi Midoriya says on the other line. It was crazy, Skyline just happened to be in the town where I was working right when you sent this letter and then he offered to get me Star and Stripe for you. Really? I've heard that he's a womanizer but I guess he isn't so bad, Izuku says, using his copy quirk on the patch and floating in the air. Izuku's quirk notebook. Christopher Skyline, Captain Celebrity. Quirked flight. He wraps himself in a telekinetic field that allows him to lift himself off the ground and fly at incredible speeds. Additionally, the telekinetic field also provides him with a protective force field and tactile telekinetic strength. However, the more he uses this energy to lift other things, the less protection he has for himself. Izuku's quirk notebook. Koichi Hamiowari, the Skycrawler. Japanese vigilante turned American sidekick. Quirk, slide and glide. He can slide over plane surfaces, flat and vertical, by emitting a repelling force from the user's hands and feet, granting enhanced speed and even flight. The repulsions can even be used to create a force field, making this quirk very similar to Captain Celebrity's flight quirk, for which reason it has been renamed as such. So, Izuku's father who is never home, Dabi says, harshly speaking into the phone. What is it like in America, far away from your wife and son? Dabi. Izuku snaps. Who is that? Hisashi asks. Oh, that's my friend. Izuku turns to Dabi. Quick, what's your real name? Dabi takes the phone from Izuku. Izuku tries to reach for it back but he is too short for the taller pyromaniac. You know, Izuku's been bullied a lot here in Japan, Dabi says. But I hear in America that society's reaction to quirkless kids is different. They are pitted, not mocked. Still not great, but have you ever considered flying your son over there with you? Hell, when was the last time you even talked to him up until now? There is a pause on the other end. Hisashi, are you still on the phone? Says a woman's voice. And who the F is that? Dabi asks. Gotta go. Love you, son. Bye. Hisashi says before he hangs up. Dabi grunts and gives the phone back to Izuku. Sorry. It's fine, Izuku says. I've never really known him. It's really just been me and my mom my whole life. I never even really think about my dad at all. He never even really crossed my mind until I remembered ST Skyline in America. Dabi scoffs. Never even think about your dad, huh? That's something I don't understand. Me either, Shigaraki says with a scowl, not that it's visible through his hand mask. Believe me, Dabi. It is better to have an absent father than one who hurts you. Or 2 parents who think you're a monster, Himiko says, sadly. Alternatively, having no one in your life to support you really SCKS, Twice says. I love the independence. Mustard and Spinner both nod. Izuku furrows his eyebrows and looks sympathetically at his teammates. Do any of you want to talk about it? Dabi crosses his arms. Later. When the time is right. Oh, and then I will tell you my real name. I'll tell you my life story over dinner, Himiko says with a blush and a smile. Izuku awkwardly smiles back. Sure, Himiko. A nice, friendly dinner. Between good friends. You know she doesn't want that, right? Mustard whispers into his ear. I know, Izuku whispers back. Later, Izuku, Spinner, Shigaraki, Mustard, and even Dabi are playing video games. And so my sensei gave me the hands of my family, and I wear them on my body as a reminder of my anger and pain, Shigaraki says. Izuku's eyes are widened with horror. Wow, boss. That's effed up, Mustard says. I don't regret killing my father, Shigaraki says. Wait, so those are actual hands on your body? Izuku asks. I thought those were just prosthetics or something. I call the one on my face, Father, since it was my father's. Well, I'm glad that Sensei reached out to you. Izuku scoffs in disgust. Since, apparently, everyone else was so deluded into relying on heroes that they couldn't spare a shred of help toward an orphan boy. Exactly, Shigaraki says. And that's why we're going to change things, Deku. Hey, will you stop calling him Deku? Spinner asks. That's what Bakugo called him. Spinner sneers the name. My calling of Midoriya, Deku, is out of nothing but respect, Shigaraki says. I was not born Tamura Shigaraki, but I took that name upon embracing my new life as a villain and a reflection of my pain. Shigaraki removes his face hand and looks directly at Izuku. Make that name yours so that no one can ever hurt you with it. Make Deku a name that people fear and respect, not mock and associate with weakness. Izuku nods. Dabi shrugs. Oh, the rest of you have shared your crappy backstories, just don't tell anyone else mine, all right? I'm Endeavor's son. Izuku's, Shigaraki's, Spinner's, and Mustard's eyes widen before they turn to Dabi with shock. Come again? Mustard asks. Later, Izuku is in a forest. He applies patches created from Captain Celebrity's and Crawler's DNA. Izuku slides around the area, laughing as he moves at incredible speed, before taking off in the air and doing flips. Focus, young Midoriya, Kurogurlo says from the ground. Behind him are Mustard, Spinner, and Himoko, along with Muscular and Izuku's gnome of friends, Accelerator, Short Fuse, and Jumper Cable. Sorry, Kurogiri. Now we can begin your training, Kurogiri says. Simply having access to a quirk is not enough. You must be able to use it properly and control it. And since you have merely a copy of the quirk, it may not be as good as the original. So we need to test out your capabilities. Along with the ability to fly, Captain Celebrity's quirk allows tactile telekinesis that can simulate superhuman strength. Likewise, it provides incredible speed. Just as how Crawler's slide and glide quirk grants one the ability to move at fast speeds, along with generating force fields. Mustard coughs. Ridiculous. First, you will be paired up with Muscular to test your use of your strength, Kurogiri says as Muscular cracks his knuckles and creates another layer of muscle fibers along his body. Do not worry, the super regeneration patch that we have given you will heal any damage that you sustain. Afterward, you will spar with Short Fuse. When we are done with that portion, Accelerator will be testing your speed, both on foot and in the sky. Oh, and you will also help your friends train their quirks as well. Accelerator salutes. I shall do my best, Sensei. Got it, Izuku says. I'll win. I'll fight. Kurogiri nods. Muscular, engage whenever you dash. Muscular leaps toward Izuku before Kurogiri can even finish. Izuku flies out of the way and Muscular misses him. He and Izuku engage in a fight as Kurogiri stands back as Himiko cheers. Go Deku-kun. Kick his butt. Spinner eyes Accelerator. So, you were created from the UA student who went after Stain? Accelerator flinches before turning to the Gecko mutant. That is what I have been told, yes. Huh. Spinner looks away. You know, you died trying to avenge your brother, who was crippled by Stain. Stain is my idol. I based my whole look off of him. Brief flashes appear in Accelerator's mind of him as Tenya Ida being paralyzed on the ground, with the hero killer about to plunge his sword into his body. But Accelerator shakes it off. The past me is irrelevant, Accelerator says. Agreed, Kurogiri says. According to my master, I was created from the body of a former UA student, just like you. Kurogiri turns to Accelerator, Short Fuse, and Jumper Cable. We were just corpses. Before the doctor gave us new life and new meaning. Whoever we were before is unimportant. Right. the Nomu teenagers say at once. I can't speak for the rest of them, but I'm actually glad this happened to me, Short Fuse says before enlarging himself slightly bigger than Jumper and flexing. I have a few lingering memories of my old life. Flashback. Mineta is crying as he is chased by Bakugo. You grapehead loser. Bakugo shouts as he chases the dwarf. You're so weak and cowardly. You think you can stand in the same rink as me? Bakugo shouts, before he is restrained by Eraserhead. Flashback. Mineta leers at Momo as she seals a wall. I'd better apologize to that girl if I ever see her again, Short Fuse says. But now look at me. I'm big, strong, and have a much better head on my shoulders. Muscular hits Izuku, but he shields himself with a telekinetic barrier. Izuku slides around to behind Muscular and grabs him on the back using tactile telekinesis. Izuku lifts Muscular up and slams him down as hard as he can, creating a small tremor and breaking off some of Muscular's muscle fibers. Izuku glares down at the brute as Muscular laughs. Nicely done, kid. Muscular says before picking up a big chunk of earth and throwing it at Izuku, who breaks it with his hands only to be punched in the gut by Muscular. So how did Izuku become a villain anyway? Jumper Cable asks. I can answer that, Spinner says. Spinner pulls out his phone and shows the Nomu, Mustard, and Himiko a broadcast about Stain. Me and Izuku met online a few months ago. We became best friends, talking about how our lives have been tough due to society. He being quirkless, me being a mutant with the near-useless quirk of sticking to walls. Then, when the hero killer made himself known, we were both captivated by his ideology of targeting fake heroes. Granted, he made it clear he was against the killing and he even voiced out that the League was really aligned with him. But I told Shigaraki about him, and he said that if I brought him in and he agreed to serve the League, then he would have his personal doctor give him a quirk. If not, then they would just wipe Izuku's memory and be on his way. I even told Izuku to bring his quirk notebooks, just in case. Flashback. Izuku stands awkwardly in front of the League of Villains at their bar. He is clutching his notebook and sweating nervously. Shuichi. Izuku snaps. You didn't tell me the new friends you wanted to introduce me to were villains. Come on, man, give them a chance, Spinner says. We hate society, you hate society. And they follow Stain like we do. You know I don't approve of the killing. Izuku says. And besides, I don't even think Stain was really associated with the League. A recruit with a brain, Shigaraki thinks. Spinner's told us quite a bit about you, Izuku-chan, Himiko says, smiling at Izuku while leaning in too close for his comfort. How that big bad Bakugo used to hurt you for being weak. How your sucky teachers did nothing about it because he was going to be a hero and you were quirkless. Dabi snorts. Based on what he told us, you're basically an angry, empty loser. Hey, don't talk to him like that. Spinner snaps. No, he's right. Izuku says. I'm still a loser and I'm completely empty. But I don't want to be a criminal. Izuku turns to Shigaraki. I admit, I have been interested in the League ever since I heard about how you injured All Might at the USJ. It's funny, I was an All Might fan for years, but up until last year all the way until now, the admiration I felt for him and heroes in general has just corroded a little by little and now it's nearly gone. I keep my All Might merch so my mom doesn't get worried. But you, I always saw All Might as an invincible god, but you managed to take away an arm. And that was before you even knew about his injury. Shigaraki smiles. Finally, someone who appreciates my merits and not just Stain. Wait, how do you know about his injury? Shigaraki asks. What injury? Twice asks. I don't care. Izuku immediately covers his mouth. Mayat, a powerful villain, injured All Might 5 years ago, Shigaraki explains. He's allegedly weaker now than he was back then. Izuku removes his hands from his mouth and sighs. Not allegedly. I met him last year after he saved me from the Sludge Villain. This was before he saved Bakugo. Anyway, I wanted to ask him some questions so I grabbed onto him as he tried to leave. He ended up deflating in front of me. Dabi's eyes widen. What do you mean, deflated? All Might's natural form is very scrawny, Izuku says. Seriously, he looks like a skeleton that coughs blood. Whoever he fought before managed to remove his stomach and one of his lungs. He said that before he could maintain his muscle form for 8 hours, but now it's down to 3. The rest of the room, bar Shigaraki and Kurogiri, stare at Izuku in shock at what he just revealed. There is a silence that fills the room, before Dabi breaks it with a small chuckle that grows into belly-aching laughter. "Wait," Dabi says between bellowing laughs. "So you're saying that for the last 5 years, Endeavor wasn't able to catch up to a cripple who can only do hero work for 3 hours a day?" Dabi grabs Izuku's shoulder as he continues laughing. "Hey, do you have any notes on Endeavor's kid, Shoto?" "Oh." Izuku flips through his notebook. "I have my notes on the sports festival right here." Izuku gives the page he made on his observations of Shoto Todoroki to Dabi. Recovering from his laughter, Dabi schemes through the page and furrows his brows. "You think he's holding back due to daddy issues?" "Of course," Izuku says. "His quirk is allegedly half cold, half hot, but he was only shown using his ice side throughout the entire festival. The only thing I can think of is that he has issues with his father that prevent him from willingly using it. Or perhaps there is some other traumatic event related to it." Dabi narrows his eyes. "It's daddy issues. Trust me." Shigaraki takes the notebook from Dabi and schemes through it. Kurogiri leans over his shoulder and his eyes widen. "These quirk-analysis notes are very detailed," Kurogiri says. "How do you know hero patrol routes?" Shigaraki asks. "That's not public knowledge." "Oh, it's nothing really," Izuku says. "I just monitored where they were seen, at what times, and who they have worked with and guessed." "Your guesses are quite accurate," Kurogiri says. "And this is just notebook number 9? Shigaraki asks. "You have a lot of detailed notes on the functions of heroes' quirks. Suggestions of how to use them. Who they would be best teaming up with." Shigaraki flips to the page with All Might's signature on it and frowns. "Yeah," Izuku rubs the back of his neck. "I always wanted to be a hero growing up, so I took notes on them and their quirks. Even now it's just a dumb hobby." "Everything you wrote here could be very useful," Kurogiri says. Izuku looks down. "I asked All Might if he thought a quirkless boy like me could be a hero like him, and he said no. I don't blame him, he was right, but it still hurt." Himiko looks at him sympathetically. "Ouch," Mustard says. Muscular bursts out into laughter. "You serious, brat? Can I eat him?" Moonfish asks Shigaraki. "No, you may not," Compress says. Himiko puts a hand on Izuku's shoulder. "Hey, listen. You're too good to be a hero. Okay?" Izuku smiles at her before turning back to Spinner. "Shuichi, I appreciate the offer. But I don't think my mom could take it if I became a villain." He then turns to Shigaraki. "Please don't erase my memory. Shuichi is my friend, so I won't report you. And, well, you're shaking society up, which I kind of respect. So how's about I give you my notes and promise not to say anything?" Shigaraki nods. "I suppose dash. Now, did All Might really say a quirkless boy like you couldn't be a hero like him? How hypocritical," a voice from a monitor screen says. "Sensei?" Shigaraki whispers. Who is that?" Magna asks. "Your benefactor," the voice in the monitor says. To the surprise of the rest of the room, a secret door opens up. "Shigaraki, I wish to speak to young Midoriya, alone. Would you please come in, boy?" Izuku turns to Tamura and Kurogiri. All three are equally shocked. Kurogiri motions for Izuku to go in, and Izuku hesitantly steps inside the hidden room. The door closes behind him, leaving Izuku in near darkness and an eerie sound. "Oh, young Midoriya, we have much to talk about." Izuku turns to the side where the voice came from. His eyes widen in terror as he sees who the benefactor is. It is a large man hooked up to a life support system, hence where the eerie sound came from. He is wearing a dark suit, but his entire face above his mouth is a featureless mass of scar tissue. In short, he looks more like a monster than a man, especially with the scary smile he is giving him. "I am all for one. I'm the villain that injured All Might." Shock and fear fill Izuku as he immediately takes a step back. Let me tell you a story, FO says. Present. I have no idea what the benefactor said to Izuku, but he fully embraced being a villain after that, Spinner says to the others. Izuku's fist collides with Muscular's. Izuku's arm breaks, but super regeneration allows him to heal. Izuku screams before pushing the brute back. We met up a couple of days later. He seemed exhausted, but he said he would help the League in any way he could now. As Izuku fights Muscular, as the adrenaline fills his body, he remembers when he first agreed to join the League. Flashback. Izuku is leaning against a wall. The corpse of Shining Knight is not too far from him, with his blood dripping from the knife in Izuku's hand. Izuku wonders how he could have done such a thing. He thinks back to everything that has happened to him in the last year up until now. His hero shattered his dreams. His worst tormentor stepped up his bullying to assault and abuse every single day for 9 months. He ended up hospitalized after being hit by a car when he heard his mother say she wished he had a quirk. He had a lonely and depressed life from then throughout high school until he started hanging out with Shuichi. Then Shuichi Spinner introduced him to the League of Villains. Their secret boss, who is apparently a century-old villain who can steal quirks and accidentally created the quirk that would be inherited by All Might, who was originally quirkless, like him. Then he forcibly gave him a super regeneration quirk and a knife before putting him in a room with Nomu. After being torn apart painfully over and over again, Izuku finally learned to start attacking back. After a few dozen rounds, Izuku became competent enough to deliver fatal blows to the Nomu before most of them could hurt him. AFO admitted they hadn't been given super regeneration quirks yet, and he would just have the doctor fix them up once Izuku was done. And, Izuku guesses, between all of that, his exhaustion, and a recently added bloodlust, Izuku killed a hero who rapes women in cold blood. Still reeling in from his shock, AFO places his hands on Izuku's temples and activates an emotion manipulation quirk. You did the right thing, young Midoriya, AFO says in a gentle voice. Heroes like this are what is wrong with society. They hide their flaws to get the public to adore them, which is why they favor your abuser due to his strong quirk. Why you were left to hang for merely not having one. This is why the League was formed, to fight against these false heroes and fix society. And you know how we will do that? By destroying the greatest hero of them all. The one that hypocritically shattered your dreams. The one that serves as the pillar that single-handedly holds up this rotten society. The society that has made you and everyone else in that room suffer. As AFO speaks, Izuku's mental distress over his actions decreases, be it from the quirk or the words. FO releases Izuku, who looks at him with awe, and AFO extends his hand. Join me. We'll set things right together. Sigh. Well, I killed someone. I guess I'm a villain now anyway. I might as well. Izuku smiles and grabs AFO's hand. So, do I get to choose my quirk? Izuku asks. Oh, I have the perfect one for you. But I can't give it to you. It has to be surgically implanted. I shall take you to the doctor now. Later, in a surgical room. Izuku is lying on an operating table and the doctor walks into the room. Izuku raises an eyebrow. Dr. Tsubasa? The doctor looks at him with surprise before smiling. Oh, Izuku Midoriya. It has been a long time. How long has it been? 10 years. Izuku furrows his eyebrows at the doctor who diagnosed him as quirkless and the grandfather of one of Bakugo's former friends, Tsubasa. You work for All for One? Izuku asks. Yes, I do, the doctor says. We have worked together for the last century. Oh, and my name is not really Tsubasa. That is just one of many aliases I take to avoid suspicion. Nowadays I go by Daruma Ujiko. But my real name is Kyudai Garaki. Izuku's eyes widen. Didn't you write the paranormal singularity theory? Wait, but that was when quirks first emerged. Tsubasa Garaki nods. Yes, my quirk, life force, extends my life. And I did write that book. AFO took an interest in it and that is how we met. I'm surprised you know about it. Of course, Izuku explains. I took an interest on how quirks evolve over time and I came across your theory. Izuku frowns. Wait, you make the Nomu, don't you? So, your grandson Dash. Garaki looks away. He died in a car crash along with his parents last year. I merely used their bodies for my experiments. They had limited contact with me anyway. Now, are we going to argue, or are you going to let me give you your quirk? Izuku nods. Proceed. Garaki shows Izuku a canister. This contains an artificial copy quirk created by me. I have one at every clinic I own. They have helped me replicate and store duplicates of quirks, but the master wishes for me to give one of them to you. He believes that with the ability to use any quirk you wish will enhance your analysis skills. Izuku smiles. Present. Izuku punches Muscular in his one good eye, blinding his opponent. He then releases a telekinetic attack against Muscular's exposed muscle fibers. They strands all break apart and cause Muscular to depower and scream, before Izuku punches him in the jaw and knocks him out. Izuku's friends cheer. Nice job, man, shouts Short Fuse. Underhanded. But we are villains, so excellent job, shouts Accelerator. Izuku smiles at the crowd as Muscular growls at him. As Izuku takes in the praise, he thinks back to when he first showed off his new quirk to the rest of the league. Flashback. Izuku looks at his new fangs in the bar mirror. He had just replicated Himiko's quirk, and the vampire girl, whose cheeks are still stained with happy tears, comes back to him with 2 glasses of blood. Would you like to share a drink? Himiko asks. Izuku smiles. The blood actually smells appealing to me right now, thank you. Izuku takes the cup and drinks it along with Toga. As soon as he does, he briefly morphs into Twice, costume and all, before changing back. Twice volunteered, Himiko explains. He's such a nice guy. Izuku's smile then turns into a frown. Is something wrong, Izuku-chan? Himiko asks. If you don't like your new quirk, you could have the doctor or the benefactor give you a different one. No, it's not that, Izuku says. I love my copy quirk. This is great. I know other people will probably say it's lame since I'm just replicating what's special about other people. I'm probably going to have to keep it a secret at home and school, but it's just, this quirk isn't really mine. The doctor made it and gave it to me. You all have these incredible abilities that you were born with, but I'm inherently useless. Don't ever say that, young Midoriya, Compress says, entering the room with Dabi. Yeah, these notes are awesome, Dabi says. I want you to analyze my quirk now and tell me how I can get better. While I will agree that the presence of a quirk may give you more of an edge, you are a smart, talented, special child. With or without a quirk. Himiko hugs Izuku, causing him to blush. Yeah. All those guys who made a big deal about you being quirkless and praised Bakugo before were just idiots. Izuku smiles. Thank you. Thank you all. Present. A tear falls down Izuku's cheek as his mind brainstorms more ideas for quirk-based technology. Later, Izuku is at his work desk, using his scan copy quirks on the hair taken from Shinso and Mandalay as he begins drafting ideas for a helmet-like device to replicate the brainwashing and telepathy quirk energies. Intro. Nomu joined the class. Izuku sits at his desk in class, waiting for the lesson to start. He notices 3 new desks set up. Good morning, class, Izuku's homeroom teacher says. You're probably wondering about the new seats. Well, surprise, we have 3 new students joining us. The secret villain in the room smirks. What? Cowgirl asks. But it's not even a new semester yet? Yes, I was quite surprised myself, the teacher says. But someone managed to convince the principal to enroll them now. Izuku smirks. Again. That was me. Combining New Order altered brainwashing with telepathy. Okay, you 3 can come in now, the homeroom teacher says. 3 new students enter the classroom and stand before the students. Izuku recognizes them as his Noma friends in their civilian forms. They were each given a body modification quirk to alter their appearances in minor ways. Both to appear as humans instead of Nomu, and to not be recognized by their original selves. Accelerator is still tall, but he has made himself a few inches shorter than his standard human form. His hair is longer and brown instead of black, and he has made his face narrower. Short Fuse has stretched his body to 4 feet tall, as opposed to 3.5 feet. The ball on his scalp and arms have been flattened as to where they are no longer visible through his hair or under his long sleeves. His hair itself has become longer and dusty blonde. However, Jumper Cable is the one that most of his classmates are staring at, especially the men. Even Izuku finds himself staring at her a little. She has used her modification quirk to normalize her frog-like traits, making her hands and eyes smaller, as well as her mouth smaller and straighter. She has also given herself green irises and made her hair, which is tied in a ponytail, pitch black. But lastly but not least, she has also made herself taller and more voluptuous. She looks like she is 3 inches taller than him now, with a sizable bust and hips. Short Fuse briefly looks at her a few times before turning away. "Allow me to introduce our new students," the homeroom teacher says. "These are Kaito, Yuki, and Ryo." He gestures to Accelerator, Jumper Cable, and Short Fuse respectively. "Please, take your seats." Jumper Yuki locks eyes with Izuku. "Hey, Izuku. Glad we're in the same class together." Izuku waves back. "Nice to have you here, Yuki." Kaito. "Ryo." The two boys wave. "Hey, Midoriya," Kaito says. All the students in the class turn to Izuku, then the new students. "You know him? You know them?" they ask. Izuku shrugs. "Friends of friends." Long Fingers lets out a forced laugh. "Friends? Who are you trying to fool, Midoriya? Half the people here see you as the school thug. The rest still see you as a loser but don't want to say anything about it." Accelerator Kaito makes a chopping motion with his arm as it transforms into a sword and startles the rest of the students. "Please do not insult Midoriya," Accelerator Kaito says. "Yeah," Jumper Yuki says, sticking out her tongue which sparks with electricity. "He's our friend. So if anyone here hurts or insults him, you'll be sorry," Short Fuse Ryo says, smacking his fist into his palm while creating a small explosion as he does. Long Fingers and Shark Jaw gulp, recognizing that quirk as being just like Bakugo's. "I admire you for defending a friend, but no quirk usage or threatening students in class, okay?" The homeroom teacher asks his 3 new students. "Please, take a seat." All eyes are on Accelerator Kaito, Jumper Yuki, and Short Fuse Ryo as they take their seats. FYI, most of the male eyes are on Yuki's chest and butt. Once they take their seats, the teacher begins his lesson and Short Fuse gives Izuku a thumbs up, which he gives back. Izuku shows a new belt gadget and a ray gun to Shigaraki, Kurogiri, Mustard, Dabi, Accelerator, Short Fuse, and Jumper Cable. "Behold, the size-changing belt and the shrink ray," Izuku proclaims, pointing at his new devices. "I take it these devices were created from studying Mount Lady's quirk," Kurogiri asks. "And a student from UA who can shrink things, yes," Izuku says. Flashback. Izuku is touching strands of hair at his desk with one hand and using his scan quirk, accessible through a patch on his arm, to observe the energies that form in his body as a result. He writes notes in his notebook. Present. The problem with Mount Lady's quirk is that she enlarges her body, but she can't take any size in between. Likewise, while Kodai's quirk only allows her to shrink inorganic matter for a short PRD. Izuku smiles. "However, by studying the similarities and differences between the quirks, I was able to replicate the quirk energies and improve upon them." Dabi grabs the belt. "So this device really allows you to shrink?" Izuku grabs it back. "Just observe." Izuku puts on the belt. He presses a button on the side and a green light turns on. Izuku then turns the dial on the belt buckle and Izuku slowly becomes smaller the more he turns the device. Himiko smiles and blushes, seeing the cute boy she loves becoming smaller while the other villains stare in shock as Izuku makes himself smaller and smaller until he's the size of a mouse. He looks up at his towering friends as they stare at him in shock. Izuku then presses the same button that made the light come on. It turns off, and Izuku immediately grows back to normal size. Not only does the belt replicate the quirk energies that shrink inorganic matter, but I've altered them to shrink organic as well. But of course, I already said I did that. Thanks to the dial, you can adjust just how small you want to make yourself. But the belt needs to constantly supply you with the quirk energy to keep you at your adjusted size, So if you want to grow back to normal, you just turn the belt off or remove it. Or I could have just turned the dial the opposite way to make myself grow. Himiko's eyes light up. You can make yourself bigger too? Oh yes, Izuku says, putting the belt back on. I got that from studying Mount Lady's quirk, too. Izuku turns the dial the opposite way. Instead of shrinking, this time Izuku grows. He stays the same proportions, but he reaches Dabi's height, the Kurogyres. Izuku finally stops when he hits his head on the ceiling of the bar. He looks down at the other villains who stare up at him, shocked. Himiko has hearts in her eyes, muttering, "So big." And unlike with Mount Lady's quirk, we can adjust the size, too. Although you can't make yourself more than 10x bigger or smaller. The belt just won't let you get smaller or bigger. Well, I've only tested shrinking in that regard, but I think it's safe to assume growth works the same way. Still a remarkable feat, young Midoriya, Kurogyre says. We can use the belt for stealth missions. Our agents can shrink small enough to hide, and then grow big enough to trample any heroes if they have to. Dabi and Shigaraki both smile wickedly. Can you imagine? Shigaraki asks. I could grow as big as a building and turn the entire city to dust with one hit. Please don't, Izuku says. And I could step on Endeavor. Dabi says. Or you could use this, Izuku says, shrinking back to his normal size and handing Dabi the new gun he made. I made this gun to replicate the shrinking quirk energies made by the belt, but also combined with energies from a paralyzing quirk. The result is that you can shrink anything it touches to 10x its original size, and make it stay small, for up to an hour. Himiko gasps and grabs it. Gimme! Himiko fires the ray at a bar stool. It is engulfed in ref light before shrinking to the size of a toy. Himiko smiles and aims the ray at a glass. And then at the pool table. This thing is so cool Himiko squeals. It makes everything so tiny and cute. Hey, stop firing that thing. Mustard shouts. You're gonna hit someone. I agree, says Accelerator. You are being very irresponsible. Maybe you should just settle down, says Short Fuse. Oh come on, Himiko says, swinging the shrink gun around. Izuku tries reaching for it. I'm not gonna dash. Himiko accidentally activates the shrink gun as Izuku grabs it. Izuku is hit, and he glows red before shrinking back to a minuscule size. Izuku looks at himself, shocked, and then back up at Himiko, who is looking at him embarrassed. Oh, I'm so sorry, Izuku-an. Are you okay? Himiko asks. Izuku looks down. But maybe don't stand too close. Why not? Because from my angle I can see kitties. Himiko is confused until she remembers that she is wearing panties that have kitties on them and Izuku can see them due to being small enough now. She blushes and a mischievous smirk appears on her face. She reaches down and grabs Izuku, who yelps in response. Oh, you're a little perv, aren't you, Izuku-an? Himiko asks with a sly smile. What? Izuku frantically asks, waving his hands as he is firmly gripped in Himiko's. No. I was just warning you. Himiko narrows her eyes and lifts Izuku over her mouth. You know, I've always found you cute enough to eat. She opens her mouth, causing Izuku to hover helplessly over a giant mouth full of fangs. And now I can have all your cute, delicious blood in one go. Izuku screams. Himiko, don't eat dash. Himiko bursts out laughing. Oh man, you really fell for that? Izuku narrows her eyes as she laughs harder. Himiko then gives him a gentle kiss on the head, making Izuku's eyes widen. But you are 10 times more adorable now, Himiko says. Okay, lunatic, Dabi says. Now put him down before you really hurt him. Izuku holds up a white full-body suit that covers the head to the toes. The suit also has a belt gadget stitched into it. Behold, the invisibility suit. Izuku declares to Shigaraki. Now I can become invisible without being naked. And so can you. Congratulations, Shigaraki says. You can stop sneaking up on others naked in public. Exactly. Izuku shows Kurogyre and Shigaraki a metal helmet. Behold. The mind control helmet. Izuku states, it projects your thoughts into another person's head like telepathy, but it also uses the same quirk energies from a brainwashing quirk, so you can also control their minds. Now, I think that's the most useful device you've made, Shigaraki says. What are the limits? Kurogiri asks. Almost none, says Izuku. I included multiple sensors so you can control the minds of up to 7 people at once. Since we are sending the signal directly into the person's brain, there is no need to get them to respond to you. And, as an added bonus, we can also. Izuku moves his fingers mysteriously. Hear other people's thoughts as well. Shigaraki smiles. Oh, Sensei will be so pleased. Shigaraki reaches for the helmet, but Izuku pulls it back. Actually, Shigi, Izuku says. I would actually prefer it if you didn't tell all for one about my latest inventions. Just for now at least. Shigaraki and Kurogiri stare at Izuku. Why not? Kurogiri asks. Shigaraki clenches his fist. Yes, why not? Well, Izuku rubs his neck. Lately, I've started getting a weird feeling about him. Shigaraki steps forward. Deku, don't tell me you're turning you back on our master? After everything he's done for you? For me? For us? Izuku steps back and raises his hands. It's just, he's a ruthless man, Izuku states. And? We're all ruthless, Shigaraki says. You're the only one here who dash. It made me wonder why he would adopt a child he supposedly found on the street by accident, Izuku says. Shigaraki stops his advancement. Young Midoriya, what are you suggesting? Kurogiri asks. Nana Shimura, All Might's master, was Tamura's grandmother, Izuku says. She was someone who All Might loved. And then Tamura just happened to acquire a divergent quirk that accidentally kills his family and leaves him on the streets for all for one to just happen to run into him and take him in. I didn't meet my sensei until after I ended up killing my father, Shigaraki says. He cannot transfer quirks unless he touches people. He could have been in disguise and touched you without you knowing, Izuku suggests. He gave each of my Nomu a body modification quirk. Maybe you did meet him before, and he gave you decay so he could use you against All Might without you recognizing him. Shigaraki slams his hand on the bar counter, causing it to disintegrate. You will not speak about him like that. Shigaraki yells. Senpai, I'm just Dash. I know exactly what you are doing. Shigaraki says. Make us less hateful. Reform us from being villains. No. Izuku says. Well, maybe just enough to not want to kill everyone, at least. But I honestly think he's using us. Shigaraki scoffs. Well, you can forget it. Shigaraki pokes Izuku in the chest. I am a villain. Through and through. Now boys, Kurogiri says, but he is ignored. Even if you stomp out my hatred, I will still destroy, Shigaraki tells Izuku. The villains need a hero too. And that is who I am going to be. Izuku narrows his eyes at Shigaraki. Look, I'm all for helping villains like Himiko, Twice, Compress, Spinner, and Mustard. But some villains are just bad. Muscular is a psychopath who just likes killing people for fun, and Moonfish needs to be convinced not to eat his own allies. And I will be their hero, Shigaraki says. And if you don't agree, you can leave. You've done enough for the League already. We don't need you anymore. Izuku frowns at Shigaraki as the older boy glares at him. Kurogi gets between the two boys. Let's just calm down you two, Kurogiri says. Shigaraki. Young Midoriya was just thinking of you and what is best for the League. Maybe he was right, maybe he was wrong. But you need to acknowledge that. Shigaraki grunts. And young Midoriya. Please do not make accusations like that without any solid evidence. For now, we shall keep the shrinking and mind control devices a secret. But he will find out eventually. Izuku looks down. Okay. Kurogiri nods. Good. Ochako, AI, Asta, and Momo laugh in the former's room at her apartment. They are in their pajamas and having a great time telling stories, watching movies, and now, doing each other's nails. AI's were painted pink. Asta's were painted red with yellow rings. And Momo's are red like her hero costume. Now, Ochako is holding out her nails for them to be painted as well. Okay, Ochako, I've got the perfect shade for you, Momo exclaims, holding up a bottle of nail polish that sparkles like stardust. Ochako's eyes widen. It's pretty. It's pearlescent pink, Momo replies. It will match with your hero costume. Momo grabs a bottle of clear polish to add the base coat. However, her hand frees up when she smells the sweet aroma in the air. Ochako AI and Asta do the same. Oh, what is that smell? Asta asks. It's cookies. AI exclaims. The door to the bedroom opens, and in comes Ochako's mother holding a plate of steaming chocolate chip cookies in her hands. Taco's, Momo's and AI's eyes immediately stare at the plate and their mouths water. Asta is a more reserved. I hope you girls are having a good time. Mrs. Uraraka says. I baked cookies for you to snack on. Mom, you're the best. Ochako exclaims, grinning widely as she takes the plate from her mother. I hope you like them, girls, she said warmly. We will, Momo says, taking 3 cookies. Asta snorts as she takes one as well. Easy there, rich girl. You're gonna get fat. Momo gives her a small glare. I need to eat a lot to replenish my lipid cells for my quirk to work. You are so lucky, Momo, Ai says, munching on a cookie. You can shed pounds just by turning your excess fat into diamonds or something. No wonder you're rich. I'm rich because my family owns a company. I'm so happy that my baby girl has friends over, Mrs. Uraraka says, crying. Before, we could barely afford to pay for ourselves. Now we make enough for Ochako to invite friends over, bake cookies, and rent movies. Asta smiles. And to think it happened because Ochako hit a hero with a pipe. Ochako rolls her eyes and Mrs. Uraraka grimaces. Yes, Mrs. Uraraka says hesitantly. We still get hate mail about that. Ochako looks down. It's ridiculous. You make one innocent mistake and you're labeled as a villain. Momo pats her back. People love heroes. Her expression darkens. And God forbid that they appear human or weak or all hell breaks loose. Ochako is a bit off-put by Momo's change in tone. Well, anyway, Mrs. Uraraka says. Ochako, I've been thinking that we could get your boss a thank you gift. That's not necessary, Mrs. Uraraka, Asta says. Trust us, says AI. Ochako is paying them back enough. Nonsense, says Mrs. Uraraka. We'll think of something later. I better leave you girls alone now. Mrs. Uraraka walks to the door. You girls enjoy yourselves. Goodbye. Bye, Mom, Mrs. Uraraka, the girls say in union before the door closes. Ochako scarfs down her cookie and turns back to the girls, as Momo resumes putting the base polish on her nails. So, summer break's getting close? Ochako asks. Do any of you have any plans? I think I'm going to go to the summer festival. AI nods. Yeah, me too. I want to see the fireworks. Also, go to the beach. Ochako grins with excitement. Yeah, definitely the beach. The 2 girls high-five. What about you, Asta? Ochako asks. You going to join us at the beach? Sure, Asta says. But I'm going to hit the books hard so I can get ahead for next term. Momo's eyes widen with surprise. Wow, Asta, you're really dedicated to your studies. Yeah, AI agrees, munching on her cookie. I've never seen anyone so eager to hit the books during summer break. It's important. I need to study all I can on advanced weaponry so I can replicate them with my quirk. Come on, Asta, Ochako says. It's summer break. You have to have at least one fun thing planned. I do. I'm also going to visit the aquarium. Momo chuckles. You know, for someone who can turn anything she touches into a weapon, I thought your summer plans would be more exciting. Momo finishes applying the base to Ochako's nails. Ochako lets them dry as Momo grabs a cookie. AI grabs another cookie and holds it to her friend's face and Ochako takes a bite. Thanks, AI, Ochako says. I'm also going to visit my mother in prison, Asta says abruptly. Ochako nearly chokes on her cookie, and Momo's hand pauses midair, a cookie halfway to her mouth. Momo stares at Asta, her eyes wide with shock. Wait, what? Ochako looks at Asta with a mix of concern and surprise. You never told us your mom was in prison. I mean, I know that you live at the dorms. But I figured. It's private, Ochako, AI says in an uncharacteristically stern tone. Asta waves her hand. No, it's fine. I can talk about it. Asta clears her throat. Momo and Ochako listen closely to her story. My mother, Asta starts. Her name was Dominata, and she was a villain. Ochako's eyes widen in surprise. A villain? Domina? Momo asks. I've never heard of her. Asta grunts and clenches her fist. She could have been great. Flashback. Domina, who has swirling yellow eyes and salmon hair, smiles and stands in front of a group of men who all kneel before her. She had a quirk like no other, one that could turn anyone who looked into her eyes into her loyal subject, Asta says. You mean like Shinso's brainwashing quirk? Ochako asks. Asta scoffs. No, not like that at all, she says, rolling her eyes at Ochako. My mother's quirk was way more intense. She could give people commands they would perform matter. She would make people speak and do anything she wanted, even kill themselves. She could make them swear loyalty to her and make them hers forever. And she had this aura. Like, when she walked into a room, you just knew she was in charge. Asta's voice takes on a solemn tone as she recounts her mother's rise to power. Dominata was a force to be reckoned with. She could manipulate people's emotions, their thoughts, their very will. And she used that to bring 5 of the most notorious villain gangs under her control. They were like her personal army. Flashback. Domina sits on a gang member's back and uses a man with an HPSC badge to act as her footrest, while a man with a saw for a head licks her boot with a collar around his neck. Domina smiles as little Asta comes up to her and sits on her lap. Little Asta smiles as her mother strokes her hair. Her plan was to use her power to take over Japan's government after ensnaring the criminal underworld under her. What about the heroes? Ochako asks. Did they know about her? Her plans? She ran into a few who stumbled across her, Asta says. She was able to either get them on her side or make them forget ever meeting her. One of those was Saw Man. AI's eyes widen. Who? AI asks. Minor hero, Momo explains. He can transform his head and arms into saws. He got them augmented and made into chainsaws for a time, but it turned out he was copying some manga character from a long time ago and it caused a legal hassle. Yeah, that idiot, Asta says. He was one of the guys my mom got to work for her. She turned on the charm and acted like she loved him. And the idiot actually believed her at first. He was so blinded by his own lust that he didn't see the manipulation. Asta's smile falters. But Saw Man eventually realized what she was doing. And when he did, oh boy, he didn't hold back. Flashback. Saw Man swings his saw arm at Domina. He gashes out her left eye as she screams. At the same time, Saw Man cuts off his collar. The large group of people behind him gasp. Little Asta screams and cries, yelling for her mother. Asta's voice gets a little shaky. I was 5 when it happened. He confronted her, right in the middle of one of her big speeches to her minions. And when she tried to control him with her quirk, he sliced one of her eyes. And just like that, her power was gone. Or at least, it was weaker. He hauled her off to Tartarus, and I ended up in a foster home. A month later, Despero claimed me and gave me to Giton to raise as his niece. Momo covers her mouth in shock. Wow, Asta, Ochako says softly. That's intense. Yeah, it's not exactly the kind of childhood you'd wish for, but it's mine. And it's how I got into the MLA. Giton trained me and helped me hone my quirk. Curious, and my mother demanded that he enroll me in school too. And then I applied for a room in the dorms so I could get some independence. But what about your dad? Ochako asks. Asta shrugs. Wish I could tell you. My mom won't tell me who he was. Honestly, I don't even know if she's really sure herself. But you must have some idea, Momo says. If I had to guess, it's Saw Man, Asta says. Mom admitted she'd played with him to keep him loyal to her. Asta smiles. So that's why, when the army steps out of the shadows and makes their move, I'm gonna kill him. Ochako leans back, intimidated by Asta's evil smile. Momo, sensing the shift in mood, decides to change the subject. So, about my summer plans, Momo says. I got some pretty cool news today. I've been invited to Island. Ochako's eyes light up. Island? No way, she exclaims. You mean the artificial moving island that serves as the world's largest research center for quirks, developer of all the best support tech, and where international heroes often visit? That's the one, Momo says. Ochako grins. How did you get invited? I'm representing my family's company. People from all the top hero companies will be there. Do you think Ingenium will have a booth there too? AI asks, blushing and her pajamas getting tighter. Momo's expression dims. No, I don't think so. The whole Ida family is still grieving. You know, after Ingenium's injury and what happened to his brother. AI cringes at herself. Oh, I forgot about that. How could you forget? Asta asks. It was all over the news. Hero native, slain by hero killer Stain. Teenage boy's body found at the scene. Identified as UA student Tenya Ida. Seeking revenge for pro-hero brother's career-ending injury. Asta grunts. That god Endeavor caught him after that. Momo nods and her expression becomes even sadder. Flashback. Momo is talking casually with Tenya at UA. Later, she and several other students stand sadly over his grave. Ingenium hugs his crying mother. I knew him a little, Momo says. He was so serious and stiff, but he was a good guy. I'm sorry, Asta says, then her eyes light up. Wait, Momo, can I come to Island with you? Curious gave me these special goggles so I can analyze any machine or tech. It's like a superpower for support items. Right. I actually got a few extra tickets. I already promised most of them to some friends at UA. But I have 2 extra for you guys. That's 1 down, so who's the last one going to be? Ochako or AI? AI shakes her head. No thanks. Technology isn't really my thing. Go ahead, Ochako. Ochako grins. Thank you, Momo. Oh, I can't wait. Momo raises her finger. She stares seriously at Ochako. There is something you should know though, Momo says. What is it? Ochako asks. Well, the winner of the sports festival is always invited to Island during the event we will be attending, Momo explains. And I know you called this year's winner a JRK and a maniac. Honestly, I know him personally so I can vouch for that. But I just want you both to be aware of it. Ochako's mind goes blank as she processes Momo's words. The winner of this year's sports festival was. Katsuki Bakugo will be there? Tako says slowly. Asta scoffs. I'm not scared of that overblown firecracker. Her mouth drools. And once I analyze enough tech, I'll be unstoppable. That's the spirit, Momo says. What about you, Ochako? Ochako lifts her head to look at Momo with squinted eyes and a grin. Oh, I actually look forward to meeting him. I have things I want to say. Like what? AI asks. I have things I want to say, Ochako repeats. You already said that, says Momo. Asta smiles. Oh, I'm in for a treat, aren't I? Later that night, Ochako gets out of her bed. She goes into the kitchen and pours herself a glass of water before walking back to her room. On the way, she passes by her parents' room. Her mother is cuddled next to her husband, Ochako's father, who has his arm wrapped around her. Ochako smiles, but then she frowns as she turns back to look at the apartment they are in. My parents haven't been happier since I joined the MLA. They've had adequate business. We've been able to afford a better home. Better meals, but I've had to lie to them this whole time. They have no idea I'm part of an infamous fanatical group. What would they say if I told them? They would probably be disappointed in me or even call the cops. Since, despite still going to hero school, I'm basically a villain now. Ochako goes back to her room. On the floor, Asta, Momo, and AI are sleeping peacefully in their sleeping bags, next to her own. Asta is snoring, AI is clutching a teddy bear. Ochako smiles at them. Then she turns to her newest friend, Momo, who is sleeping with earphones on. Ochako takes a peek at the screen of her phone to see what she is listening to. Sure enough, it is Meta Liberation War on audiobook. Ochako frowns. Right, Momo didn't technically join the army on her own free will. Shinso lured her in, used his quirk on her during a seminar, and twisted some of her desires and ideals to fit the MLA's mission. Curious said that she has to listen to that book often to keep the right mindset for the army. We're brainwashing her. Ochako slips back into her sleeping bag and stares at the ceiling. I hope at least they keep their word to Momo. She's a great person. I think we could have been friends if I had attended you. Ochako turns to look at the slumbering AI and Asta. I've made some really good friends at my new school too though. And it's not like I can just quit the army. Not only would my family lose everything, but I don't know what Redestro will do. He seems reasonable, but I also get a bad vibe from him. Sighs. What did I get myself into? Oh well, at least the cause is good. Maybe we can achieve it without having to break too many laws or hurting anyone. We can take over society discreetly, like Momo suggested. Still, I wish it didn't have to be this way with Momo. Ochako's mind flashes back to when she first killed a creature rejection clan member. She frowns and looks at her gloved hand. I'm a murderer. It doesn't matter if he was old, or that he was a bigot who killed people. I killed someone in cold blood. Imagine Spot. Ochako's parents and Izuku all make angry and disgusted faces at her. They say things like, you're a monster, murderer, villain, you're just like Bakugo. Ochako covers her face with her pillow. What am I going to do if they find out? What? Maybe they won't find out. I mean, they will if I end up getting arrested. And, I still kinda believe in the cause, just not the actions they want to take. AI is pretty tame too, and Asta? Well, Asta can be pretty scary, but maybe I can get her to listen to reason. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll try to bring about change the right way. I hope. A few days later, Daika City Park. Geeton, the city's ice-themed hero, faces off against Asta, his charge and adoptive niece, who is wielding a sword she created from a pen in her hand. Geeton tenses his hand. All the water molecules within the park's radius condense together and an icy mist forms. Careful, Asta, Geeton calls out. This time, I won't hold back. Ice Hero Geeton, secret lieutenant of the Meta Liberation Army. Quirk, Ice Ply. Geeton can manipulate ice, as well as freeze any water around him to give him more ice to manipulate. However, he cannot create ice from nothing. His range is as wide as a town, less than 10 square miles. Asta's heart races as she grips her pen sword firmly. Bring it on, Iceman, she calls back, eyes burning with a thirst for battle. Don't expect me to go easy on you because you're old. Geeton sends a flurry of ice shards at Asta. She smirks and spins her blades so fast that each one shatters on impact. Geeton throws a much larger icicle at her, but she merely dodges it and charges at her uncle. Geeton tenses his hand and the ice accumulates around Asta's legs. As she runs, she feels the ice crawling onto her legs and the hairs on her skin stand up. She leaps into the air and somersaults over the growing ice spikes. After she lands, she sees the ice condensing around her feet as bar-like structures arise around her before trapping her in an ice cage. Asta's feet are stuck in place, thick ice bars surround her, and Geeton sends 2 large ice serpents toward her. Asta's eyes glow red with determination and her sword glows as well. She swings her pen sword with all her might, letting out a roar as she slices through the bars with ease and shatters all the ice around her, breaking the ice around her feet and the ice serpents into hundreds of ice cubes. The shock wave released by the attack blows Geeton's hood off, revealing his pale-skinned face and long white hair. Damn it. I hadn't realized she'd gotten so powerful. I'm proud, but I still have to win this. Otherwise, I'll be a failure. Geeton smirks and creates a blizzard around himself. This is only the beginning, Asta, he declares. Asta's eyes narrow. Great, the old man is up to something, Asta thinks as she grabs her black school brazier. I make myself a bigger sword. With a swift movement, Asta rips her school blazer off her shoulders. She also then grabs the beaded necklace she wears around her neck. She activates her meta ability as she throws it at Geeton, transforming the beads into smoke bombs that go off in his face. Geeton wipes his eyes, and Asta transforms her torn brazier into a massive bladed sword. With a fierce cry, Asta charges at Geeton, while he is still trying to recollect his vision. She is just about to strike before an ice spike appears in front of her. She barely manages to stop in time before the spike can pierce her. Another ice spike nearly strikes her wrist, causing Asta to drop the blade in shock. Geeton smirks and shakes his finger. Not so fast, Asta. Geeton sends a massive blast of frost at Asta, encasing her in a layer of ice and sending her backward. She tumbles before coming to a stop. Geeton attempts to entrap her in the ice, but she unleashes a war cry and bursts out, having transformed her white undershirt into spiked strength-enhancing armor. Before Geeton can react again, Asta reaches into her pocket and pulls out a handful of pens. She transforms them into missiles midair and sends them flying at the ice hero villain. Not wasting a moment, Geeton forms an ice wall that blocks the incoming missiles. They explode and send fragments of ice shards in all directions. When the smoke and ice mist clears, Asta looks ahead to see the ice wall destroyed and Geeton gone. Where is he? Asta asks, looking around. She spots something in her peripheral vision. She instinctively reaches into her other pocket and throws a penknife at the figure, only for it to hit a snowman wearing Geeton's jacket on an ice sled. Haha. Asta's eyes widen as she hears Geeton's cackle. And just like that, a massive ice pillar on her left forms and sends Geeton flying into the air. From his elevated height, he rains down hundreds of massive ice spikes. Asta tries reaching for more pens from her pocket, but the spikes tear apart her armor, as well as stab into the ground around her and between her arms and legs. When they all fall, Asta is bound by an icy prison she is unable to escape from no matter how much he struggles. Geeton lands in front of her with his arms crossed and a smile on his face. Not bad, Asta, Geeton says in an admirable tone. You've lasted longer than before. Redestro strides over. Your growth is remarkable, he says as Geeton frees her from the ice. Your recent awakening has allowed you to enhance the weapons you create. Your instincts have grown sharper, and your control over your meta ability is improving. Curious and Skeptic nod in agreement. You're getting better every day, Curious says. Asta lowers her head in shame. I still lost. Geeton grabs her shoulder. You're learning, Geeton says in a soft tone. Curious smirks at him. I take pride in that. You didn't want to send her to the hero course. Geeton waves it off. I was homeschooled and focused on training my meta ability my whole life. And look how strong I am now. Redestro chimes in. Both yours and Asta's meta abilities are impressive. You have done well to hone them to the best of your abilities. However, Asta's strength does not just come from her meta ability, but her keen mind. She is a tactician, a warrior who can think on her feet. That is what will truly make her formidable. Asta smiles at the praise. Trumpet shakes his head and smiles. If there were more of you, Asta, the army would be unstoppable. Geeton chuckles. Don't forget the man who trained her, he says, pointing to himself. Riko, Momo, and AI watch from the sidelines. Their faces are a mix of amazement and admiration. Monoma leans against a tree, with his arms crossed and a smug smile on his face. Looks like our little Asta's been holding out on us, Monoma says. Shinso nods. Her growth is incredible, but she can only transform what already exists to an extent. Curious said she wants me and Asta to learn to work together, Momo says. I mean, if I can create anything from my body with my quirk and Asta can turn it into a weapon, I can give her ammo. Or create weapons from my own body. Good for you too. Monoma smiles in pride. The doctors are studying my quirk and blood samples. They want to see if they can create a serum that can give other people copies of quirks. Imagine it. Geeton could wield fire along with ice. Asta can create pens from her own fat to use instead of having to rely on you. If we can find a telepathy quirk, you can use brainwashing with it so you don't need people to talk to you, Shinso. AI blinks at him. Hey, I've been wondering. How did Shinso convince you guys to join the MLA? I mean, I know you guys attended a seminar, but how did he really convince you? Monoma shrugs. We were just friends. He said he wanted me to go to an event with him, and I was like, sure. Momo, however, she lost faith in hero society after the HPSC ruined her life, Shinso says, bluntly. Ochako blinks. What happened? Momo's face tenses, but she sighs and turns to Ochako. Did any of you see the USJ attack on the news? She asks. Both AI and Ochako nod. The League took All Might's arm too, right? Ochako asks. Momo nods sadly. The HPSC tried to cover it up. They tried to paint it as a victory for All Might. Like he blasted the Nomu away and defeated the League's leader all on his own. They gave him a prosthetic arm and a cape to hide his injury. But that's not the worst part. Momo cringes. 2 students died. They were killed by villains, and they refused to let the media talk about Azui or Mineta. They refused to mention the students who were injured. They wanted to just sweep it all under the rug. Ochako gasps. Why would they do that? So society wouldn't lose the illusion of its invincible hero. Shibso and Minoma both boo. Momo's expression darkens. Do you know what the HPSC did when the truth came out? When people knew what really happened? Ochako shakes her head. Mina Ishido, Momo says. She was offered money to stay silent. But she had to tell the truth. Momo takes a deep breath. Afterwards, she and the families of the other students who were killed, they went to the media. They didn't take the bribes, they didn't stay quiet. They told the truth about what happened that day. How All Might lost his arm and would have died if the other heroes hadn't shown up. Their children's deaths. Everything. A heavy silence fell over the group. What happened to Mina and the others? AI asks. The HPSC backlisted Mina from every hero school in Japan, Momo says. They said it was for her own protection, but we all knew it was a warning to the rest of us. And the families of the students who were killed? Azui's parents. Mineta's mother, we haven't heard from them since. Ochako gasps. That's just wrong. Momo nods. Indeed. Shinso used that argument to get a lot of us from UA into the MLA. He said that once we take over we'll stop the facade. Shinso averts his eyes. At least I hope so. Flashback. Redestro is meeting with Shinso in his office. Shinso, Redestro says. I want to thank you. You have been a great help in bringing in more recruits. Our drive has nearly doubled thanks to your efforts. Shinso bows. It helps that society is damaged. Redestro nods. Speaking of which, I was thinking that you could work on recruiting the winner of the sports festival, Katsuki Bakugo Dash. No, Shino says, bluntly. Redestro tilts his head and narrows his eyes at Shinso. No, you say? Shinso recomposes himself. Apologies, sir. It's just, based on my own experiences with him and what Ochako has told me, he is nothing but a hot-tempered a-hole and a bully. Redestro nods. Yes, Curious has told me what Miss Uraraka has told her about Bakugo bullying her quirkless boyfriend. Redestro chuckles. I assure you that is a mere phase. And someone with such power, drive, and belief in meta-superiority would be an invaluable asset to the army. Shinso thinks of a response. That all may be true, but he considers himself better than everyone. Everyone. He is arrogant and refuses to take orders. He won't be swayed to follow another person's ideology and he won't follow you. Trust me, he will just go against you if it suits him. Redestro thinks about this. Perhaps. His outburst at the festival did show a staggering lack of restraint and temperament. We could help with that. Still, I want you to keep an eye on him and recruit him when you believe he matures. Shinso nods. Yes, sir. Shinso mentally scoffs. I'm not even trying. I'm not gonna be stuck working with that butt, and I won't do that to Uraraka either. Besides, he considers himself an All Might fan and thinks villains are losers. He won't want to join us anyway. So for that reason, I will ally with the army, Momo says. If you help my friend overcome his issues with his father so he can use his quirk. No one has done anything to help with that yet. I'm working on it, Shinso says. We're both closed-off people. It's hard for me to talk to him. If I can't talk to him, I can't learn more about him. And if I can't learn more about him, I can't figure out how to sway him to come to this city so he can get the help he needs and be swayed to our side. Momo, it has to be you. Me. Yes, you. You know him better than anyone else at the school does. You have to be the one to convince him he needs to get over his issues. A sly smile appears on Monoma's face. Maybe you can lure him in. Play on his natural instincts. Momo raises an eyebrow. What are you talking about? Monoma grins. Come on. Any moron can tell there is a lot of SXL tension between you two. You can literally cut it. With a knife. Momo rolls her eyes. There's no SXL tension. I'm the smartest person in our class and he's the strongest. We respect each other, that is all. Come on, Momo, AI says. Now, I've only seen him on TV. But you can't deny that he's kind of hot. Momo looks at her friend, surprised. Hot. She blinks rapidly. Shoto? I guess he's not ugly. AI giggles. Come on, Momo. He's totally hot. Broad shoulders. That brooding vibe he's got. Nice hair and that cool scar. It's like he's a model for brooding teen magazine covers. Momo can't help but smile. Seriously though, Ochako says. What if you just talk to him? I've got an idea, Monoma says. What if we put him in a situation where he has to use his fire? Like what? Momo asks, curiosity mixed with concern. Well, Bakugo's got a nasty temper, and he's got it out for Shoto, Monoma says. If we put them in a situation where they have to fight, Shoto won't have a choice but to use his fire. He threw a fit because Shinso stopped him from getting a rematch at the festival. Best case scenario is that Shoto refuses to use his fire, loses but realizes he's holding himself back, and then Momo can reel him in. Worst case is that he learns to use his fire, and then Momo can say, hey, let me introduce you to come friends. Momo glares at him. That's dangerous. We can't use people like that. What if we introduce him to someone else who hates a quirk they got from their parents? AI suggests. Who do we know from school who's like that? Well, there's that guy whose quirk is bone manipulation, Ochako suggests. We were working together on a project and he said that his late father, who has the same quirk, used to use it to DSPLN him. Flashback. Ochako faces off against a boy with dark hair and sunken eyes. Ochako charges at him, but the boy raises his hand and makes Ochako contort instead. Well done, their PE teacher says. I won't use my meta ability to break her bones, the boy says. That's fine, says the PE teacher, we weren't going to ask you to dash. My dad used to do that to me if I misbehaved. And then I used it on him and I accidentally broke his spine and paralyzed him for life. Me and my mother worked to support him, but I think she resents me too, the boy says, solemnly, making the teacher frown. I'm going to try to get through to him, gently, Momo says, a bit disturbed. And then he might be grateful enough to join the army. AI declares. Shinso smirks. Gratitude and after a few sessions with me, perhaps. Momo nods and then looks at the time on her phone. Let's call it a day for training. Ochako, get asked. We need to plan out our trip. Flashback. Izuku and Ochako are walking beside each other in the mall. Ochako is admiring the Kirby plushie that Izuku bought for her. You really like it, huh? Izuku asks. I love it. Ochako squeals. Thanks, Izuku. Izuku smiles and nods to himself. So, there's going to be a festival hosted by school. It's going to be around the time you get back from your trip. Maybe we can go together, you can meet my mom. Maybe. Stars form in Ochako's eyes as she squeals. Oh, I would love to. And meeting your mom? Wow, are we there already? I would love to. Izuku hums to himself. She's so cute, he thinks. Hey, Izuku, about my trip, Ochako says. I'm sorry I couldn't get you another ticket. This is I-Island. The I-Expo is supposed to be a great event and dash. Izuku waves it off. Don't worry about it. You were invited by a friend and I would hate to be a third wheel. Besides, I'm still going to be doing good work during my summer break. I'll be working at that hospital, remember? Just take a lot of pictures for me, okay? Ochako nods. I'll bring you a souvenir. How's that? Izuku smiles, geeking out. Well, if you could take pictures of the Eye Expo, I would really appreciate that. The Eye Expo is supposed to be the world's largest. Ochako smiles as Izuku goes on and on about the different events at the expo, what heroes might be there, and how amazing it is that David Shield, the man who designed All Might's hero costumes, lives there. Izuku is so smart. I really wish I could have gotten him a ticket. He would have a blast.
Flashback ends.
Izuku is looking at a picture of him and Ochako at the mall, her holding up the Kirby plushie, on his phone. Izuku frowns. I'm a terrible boyfriend. I've lied to you. Izuku, sweetie. Izuku's mother, Inko, calls from outside his room. Are you all packed? Izuku snaps out of his daze and throws his toothbrush, comb, jacket, face mask, and a small box labeled patches into his backpack. Almost ready, Mom. Outside his room, Inko is vacuuming in the living room area. Your friend will be here any minute. She calls. There is a knock on the door. Inko goes to answer it, and Spinner is standing outside. He is wearing a hooded jacket and a scarf to cover his mutant features. He lowers his scarf so that Inko can see his face. Beside him is Mustard, without his mask and wearing his casual clothes. Oh, Shuichi, Inko says warmly. Thank you for picking up Izuku. Hey, no problem, Mrs. Midoriya, Spinner says. We're really excited to go on this camping trip together. Inko nods and turns to Mustard. Oh, and you are here too. Mustard, he says bluntly. I know, I was just thinking maybe you can give me your actual name now. No. Spinner pats Mustard on the shoulder. Mustard is very careful about who he trusts. Izuku comes out of his room with his bag slung over his shoulder. Shuichi. Mustard. Izuku smiles. Are we ready to go on our camping trip? Yes, says Mustard. We'll just go pick up our other friends and then head off. Right. Izuku walks over to them and takes a moment to kiss his mom on the cheek. Bye, Mom. I'll text you. Before Izuku can walk out the door with his friends, Inko calls out to him. Izuku, wait. Izuku stops and turns around to face his mother. Inko has a smile on her face. I just want to tell you that I'm very proud of you. When she says that, Izuku's eyes slightly widen. I know things haven't always been easy for you. I know you have had trouble at school and making friends and wanting to be a hero. For a while it seemed like you were in a really bad place. But you've really picked yourself back up. You've made friends, you're happier, more confident, you even have a girlfriend, who I want to meet soon, by the way. Izuku smiles. Thanks, Ma. And I already talked to Ochako about this. We're going to arrange for us to meet each other's parents soon. Smiles. Take care of my son, boys. Spinner gives her a thumbs up. No problem, Mrs. Shuichi. Mustard shrugs. We'll keep him alive. Izuku waves goodbye to his mother as he walks out the door with Spinner and Mustard. Your mom's a really nice lady, Izuku, Spinner says fondly. Izuku looks down. Yes, she is. It's why I hate lying to her. Well, it's not like you can tell her what you're really doing, Mustard says. We've lied to her too. We won't be at the same place you are. Well, can go camping when he gets back, Spinner says. He's only gonna be gone a couple of days and we told her the trip is a week. Izuku stares at the ground as he remembers his recent meeting with AFO. Flashback. Izuku stands in front of AFO, who is sitting in his medical chair. On both sides of AFO are Kurogiri and Shigaraki. You're sending me to Eye Expo? Izuku asks, surprised but with a smile on his face. This is a very pleasant surprise, but why? This won't be a vacation, Kurogiri says. You're going to be working for a group of villains, led by a man named Wolfram. Kurogiri hands Izuku a stack of files. Here is their information and quirks. Izuku flips through the files. He sees Wolfram's file, a picture of him with his metal mask on. Quirk, metal manipulation. Metal manipulation? That's a useful quirk. Maybe I can steal a couple of his hairs. Izuku flips through the other files. I already have telekinesis and earth flow. I probably shouldn't try to take every cool quirk I find. I have no idea what not? Defo asks. Well, I don't want to give in to my insecurity and dash. Izuku stops when he comes across Samuel Abraham's file. Samuel Abraham? He's David Shield's partner. Why is his file in here? Because he's the one who is orchestrating this heist, Shigaraki says. Izuku blinks. Okay, now I am confused. Allow me to explain, Afo says. I do not know all the details myself. Wolfram refuses to share much. However, All Might's friend desires to retrieve a piece of equipment that he developed that was deemed too dangerous for public usage. So, Abraham suggested that they steal it. He would bring in actors to pretend to be villains that would hold the island hostage, with their help, so that they could steal the device back. But Wolfram and his gang are real villains. Defo smirks. Abraham is displeased with where his job has gotten him. He wanted fame and wealth, things which Mr. Shield's work has neglected to provide for him. Izuku huffs and rolls his eyes. It's all about fame and wealth for some people. Shigaraki nods. Especially heroes. Or, in this case, heroes' helpers. So Abraham is going to betray David Shield so he can sell the device with Wolfram? Izuku guesses. Fo nods. That is correct. And I figured so long as All Might's friend wants to do villain work, I might as well help. Fo gives Izuku a wicked smile. To assist Wolfram in his mission, I am giving him 3 things. 1. A muscle augmentation quirk that the doctor copied from Muscular. Okay. I am also giving him one of your completed quirk nullifying guns. And you? Your excuse is that I can repair the gun if something happens to it, Izuku guesses. But what you really want is for me to report to you what the device does, and betray Wolfram if it best benefits the League. Afo chuckles. Smart boy you are. I have told him that your quirk is merely hyperintelligence. Take that patch and any other you believe will help you. Until then, study Wolfram's gang's quirks so you will be better prepared. Izuku nods. Leave it to me. I have full trust in you, young Midoriya, Devo says. Oh, and by the way, you won't be going as yourself. Flashbackins. Izuku stands beside AFO in a parking structure. AFO is wearing his mask, and Izuku's hair is longer, covering his left eye, and black in color. His eyes are also red and he has pale skin. He is wearing a black jacket and a black face mask. They are approached by a man with red hair and a metal mask, Wolfram. Wolfram looks down at Izuku, who stares blankly at him. This him? Wolfram asks. AFO pats Izuku's shoulder. Yes, this is Mikumo Akatani, the genius behind the quirk nullification gun. Wolfram eyes him. Why the mask, Akatani? Akatani removes his face mask, revealing a slit nose and a Glasgow smile. There are open slits extending from the sides of his mouth, spreading halfway across his cheeks into a disturbing smile. Wolfram chuckles. Ah, I see. Ah, well, no shame here. Wolfram removes his own mask, revealing his own scars. Welcome to the club. Akatani puts his mask back on and nods. Thankfully Sensei used his body modification quirk on me, Izuku thinks. Made me a few inches taller. Yay, I'm as tall as Bakugo. Also made my hair longer, darker, my eyes redder, and made my face unrecognizable. Now there is no way I'll be recognized. Plus he altered my vocal cords. I used to be a fan of All Might, Akatani says in a voice that is deeper than Izuku's. He's the one who always says to smile. He hands Wolfram the briefcase. The gun for you. Wolfram takes the briefcase and opens it. He smiles at the contents inside and faces F. And the extra quirk you promised me? Wolfram asks. As we agreed. Fo extends his hand and Wolfram shakes it. Akatani watches as red energy flows from AFO into Wolfram. The metal mask-wearing villain smiles, releases AFO, and flexes his arm. It glows red. I feel stronger, Wolfram says pleased. That's odd, Akatani says. That quirk was copied from someone who grows muscle fibers outside his body. The doctor modified it, Fo explains. Plus, quirks that are copied aren't always the same. It was a pleasure doing business with you all for one, Wolfram says, with a wolfish grin on his face. Fo raises his finger. Now, remember, as powerful as this gun is and the quirk I gave you, my league still has many more in stock, and I have hundreds of quirks of my own. If you betray me in any way, I will hunt you down and personally destroy you. Are we clear? Noted, Wolfram says as he hands a bag to Akatani. Akatani looks inside the bag. He sees a black vest, a white dress shirt, a black apron, a bow tie, and pants. What is this? Akatani asks. You'll be posing as a waiter on Island, Wolfram explains. Izuku looks at the clothes. The vest and the dark color scheme remind him of both AFO's and Kurojire's choice of dress. Can I keep this? I might just make this my villain suit. Minus the apron, I mean. Wolfram waves him off. You can steal David Shield's clothes. For all I care. Ochako sits at the kitchen table in her apartment with her bags beside her. Asta sits across from her, eating a peanut butter sandwich, while watching Mr. and Mrs. Uraraka bombard their daughter with questions. Did you pack your sunscreen? Mrs. Uraraka asks. Yes, I did, Mom. Ochako says. What about a sun hat? Asks Mr. Uraraka. Ochako nods. Yes, I did. Extra underwear in case something happens? Ochako turns red. Mom, not in front of our guest. I'm sure they will have stores and stuff on Island, Asta says. People live there all year round. We just want to be sure, Mrs. Uraraka says. Oh, and Ochako, don't forget to thank Momo again for this wonderful opportunity. Asta rolls her eyes. She has. Several times. Ochako's phone dings. She looks at her text message and grabs her bag. Momo says she's here. Time to go, Asta. Asta scarfs down what is left of her sandwich and grabs her own belongings. Ochako hugs and kisses her parents goodbye before she walks out the door. Call us as soon as you get to the airport. Mrs. Uraraka says. And when you arrive on the island, take plenty of pictures. Goodbye, sweetheart, says Mr. Uraraka. I will. Love you guys. Bye. Bye. And with that, Ochako and Asta leave the Uraraka apartment. After descending down the stairs and exiting the building, Ochako and Asta see a limp with Momo standing outside of it in her causal clothes. Ochako waves to her. Momo. Hey. Sup. Asta waves back. Momo smiles. Hey girls. You ready? Ochako smiles and gives a thumbs up. Ready. Asta pulls out her scanning glasses. Ready. I can't wait to get so much weapon data with these things. Momo shushes her, looks around, and then whispers. Remember, my friends from school are here. So they don't know what group we are all a part of. So we all met online. Yes, Ochako says. Asta nods. Momo sighs in relief. Good. She opens the limo door. Come inside. Ochako rushes in, excited to ride in a limousine for the first time in her entire life. Inside, there are 3 girls already waiting for them. One is a punk girl with cord-like earlobes, one is a pink girl with dark irises and horns antlers, and the other is invisible, making her appear as a floating top and shorts. Hi, the pink girl says. You must be Momo's online friends. Why yeah, that's us, Ochako says. I'm Ochako, this is Asta. Asta stares at the invisible girl. What, do we have a ghost in here? Asta. Ochako scolds as Momo sits next to them. No, it's fine, says the invisible girl. My name is Toru Hagakure. My quirk is invisibility. I can't turn it off. Asta's eyes widen. Oh, sorry. It's fine, I manage. I'm Mina Ishido, the pink girl says. And I'm Kyoka Jiro, says the punk girl. If you're wondering about my ears, my quirk is earphone jack. It allows me to detect vibrations and hear better. She holds up her legs that show her amplifier boots. I also have these amplifier boot support items that I can plug my jacks into. They enhance the vibrations of my heartbeat so that I can use them offensively, like create a sonic blast. Ochako's eyes sparkle. Oh, interesting. Does that work with an iPhone or something, or do you have to use your quirk? Kyoka shrugs. I guess a phone would work, why? Just curious, for a friend. She's dating a quirkless guy, Asta says bluntly. Apparently, he wanted to be a hero when he was younger, but everyone else bullied him for it. Ochako shoots Asta an irritated glare, while Mina shakes her head. Some people are just cruel, Mina says. There were a lot of bullies at my old school. I tried to resolve most cases since teachers tend to be overworked, or they don't want to risk repercussions to their jobs. If your boyfriend needs someone to talk to, I can recommend a therapist. And I would say he could still be a hero if he could use the right support gear, Kyoka says. I can try to hook him up if you want.
Tako smiles. Well, thanks.
But Izuku says he's not interested in being a hero anymore. She slowly turns to Asta. I was only curious for my own sake. Asta shrugs. Sorry, sometimes I tend to blurt things out. She glances at the UA girls. By the way, the bully was your old classmate, Katsuki Bakugo. The UA girls stare at her in surprise. Though Momo sighs. I believe you. Mina looks down. My friend, Ijiro, is friends with Bakugo. He keeps insisting that he's a cool guy deep down. I would like some more details before I warn him about Bakugo. Hey, aren't you that girl who was expelled from UA for telling the truth about the UA incident? Ochako asks Mina. Oh wait, I'm sorry. She blushes. That was so rude of me. Mina raises her hand. No, it's fine. Yes, that was me. We're still friends, Momo explains. They teach me everything they learn at UA. Mina puts her arms around Kyoka and Toru. It SCKS not being allowed to be a real hero anymore, but I'm working toward being a guidance counselor instead.
Tako smiles.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm glad that you managed to find something else to do with your life. Wait, I think I heard of you, says Toru. Weren't you at the entrance exam? Ochako rubs her neck, embarrassed. Yeah, but I was caught by the 0-pointer, so I didn't get in. She goes to MY Hero School now, Asta says. We're happy to have her. It might not be big like UA, but they teach us well. That's good to hear, says Mina. And I am still doing what I can to help the community. Flashback. Mina is wearing a dark hooded jacket and a mask with goggles that completely conceals her appearance. She watches from the top of an alleyway roof and spots a shady figure walking. Mina throws a rock at the ground. The man gets startled and draws his gun, daring whoever is there to come out. Mina jumps down while throwing acid on the gun, causing it to corrode in the man's hand. With the man's gun gone, Mina pushes him against the wall and holds a taser to his neck. Tell me everything you know about the League of Villains, she demands. Later, Mina leaves the man tasered and tied to a lamppost with a note on him that reads, This man is a gang member. Please give to the police. Love, Alien Queen. Mina nods. We can all be heroes in our own ways. Who needs all the fans and money anyway? Ochako looks down while Asta pats her back. Much later, Izuku Akatani looks out the window of the plane, which is bringing him to Island. Right now, all he sees is the ocean, but he knows he is due to arrive at any time. Izuku looks around at Wolfram and his gang. His seatmate, Sorgoldefimd, so because his quirk allows him to make his arm a sword, is fast asleep. Looking around, Izuku Akatani sees that Wolfram is reviewing the layout of Island, Hacker is on his computer, Daigo is asleep, and Nobu is watching a movie. Izuku Akatani looks at the red hairs taped to the napkin in his hands. Flashback. As Wolfram is introducing Akatani to the rest of his gang at his dark hideout, Izuku Akatani discreetly plucks a couple of hairs that had fallen naturally onto the back of his jacket. Flashback. Earlier, when they were still on the plane, Izuku Akatani notices Nobu wiping his mouth after eating a cookie. Izuku Akatani walks by him. Hey Nobu. I'm going to the bathroom. Would you like me to take your trash? Izuku Akatani asks. Huh. Nobu smiles. Yeah, sure. Thanks, kid, he says as he gives him his napkin. Hacker's quirk isn't suited for combat and his skills are entirely him, Izuku notes. Daigo's quirk is impressive, but I already have quirks that can make me stronger, without turning me into a big gorilla. I decided Wolfram's quirk would just be a plus, and thanks to Sensei, the hairs also allows me to access a muscle augmentation quirk. Nobu's quirk is very interesting. Displacement allows him to displace anything he touches with his hands. The information I had didn't give me a full description, but I hope I can see his quirk in action. Izuku pulls down his shirt sleeve and sees the patches he has stuck to his skin. Okay, so let's go over the quirks I took with me. Erasure, the most useful. S-class telekinesis, thanks to using Dr. Garaki's lab to merge together flight, mom's attraction quirk, poltergeist, telekinesis, and force field, dash. Flashback. Izuku is in the doctor's lab, watching over Nomu in tanks. Izuku notices a small one and he takes it out before placing his hand, which has a couple of patches on it, on its head. New order, let this Nomu receive a copy of the following quirks, and have them merge inside him. Yeah, that was really helpful. Reduces need for multiple patches. And analyze, made from scan and search. Plus I have those emotion sensing and memory scanning quirks that I got from those nurses at Jaku. Plus the rest in my box I can apply at any time. Flashback. Izuku is talking and chatting with nurses at the hospital. Later, he looks through the doctor's lab and he finds vials of blood work from all his employees. Izuku then locates their blood samples, takes them from storage, and adds a tiny drop from the two nurses onto a single patch. Izuku pulls out his phone. He opens his photos and looks through them. He sees himself with Ochako. Then he sees himself with Himiko, Mustard, and Spinner at the league bar. Izuku flips back and forth between the pics and smiles. I won't disappoint you guys. And Ochako, I'll protect you too. Izuku pats his chest and the plane thumps. We've arrived, Wolfram says. Izuku Akitani pulls his shirt sleeve back down, hides the napkin in his pocket, and puts away his phone. All right, time to get to work,